Chapter 415. That was the first time I saw Master fight. Niu Qingshan smiled. Including the few of us. We were all shocked by Master's power. We thought he was a god. On the night we returned, youngest junior brother, who was only 8 years old, was the first to kneel before Master and ask him to be his disciple. Master asked him why. I still remember youngest junior brother's first sentence was, "I want to kill. I want to kill all these Beastris starts. I want them to tremble in fear." Youngest junior brother's gaze is still fresh in my memory. I only found out later that youngest junior brother's parents died in the chaos. Youngest junior brother matured earlier than us. Compared to him, the few of us were much dumber. We were shocked by youngest junior brother's words and admired his courage. In the end, Master didn't accept him. He said that his murderous aura was too strong and he would go astray sooner or later. Master accepted us instead because I was the oldest, so I was the eldest senior brother. Youngest junior brother was very determined. He kept kneeling at the door and said that if Master didn't accept him, he would kneel until he died of old age. Master told us to ignore him. After a night, we all heard that Commander Ma's residence was destroyed, including Commander Ma himself. Everyone thought that it was retribution for Commander Ma's evil deeds. Only youngest junior brother, and I knew that Commander Ma, was actually killed by Master because I didn't see Master when I woke up that night. Yichin said, "Is your master still alive?" He agreed with what this person did. However, if it were him, he would not take revenge that night. Instead, he would kill his way to the door. This person was a martial Dao master more than 100 years ago. If he was still alive, his ability would definitely be terrifying. He's not. Niu Qingshan shook his head lightly. Yichin secretly nodded. He thought to himself that was how ancient martial artists were. No matter how powerful they were still human. They could not escape the pain of reincarnation. Niu Qingshan continued. Youngest junior brother really knelt at Master's door for 7 days and 7 nights. In the end, Master was moved by his sincerity. That night, the 4 of us knelt before Master to serve him tea. In terms of seniority, Master only said one thing to us at that time. If you can protect the world, all the poor will be happy. Master told us to be benevolent and chivalrous, and not to bully the weak with martial arts. After that, I returned to my hometown and learned that my parents had passed away. After paying my respects to them, Master took us into the mountains to escape the chaos of war. At that time, junior brother asked why Master didn't kill all these bad people since he was so capable. Master smiled and said, "If you have epilepsy and your limbs twitch, would it be useful to chop them off?" Yichin vaguely sensed the hidden meaning in his words. The 4 of us stayed on the mountain with Master for a total of 15 years, and then followed Master to explore the outside world for another 10 years. Niu Qingshan said, "In the past 10 years, we've encountered bandits and killed bandits. Although youngest junior brother is the youngest, he's more talented than all of us. In just a few years, he broke through to the peak of illuminating pulse. Later on, he broke through to martial Dao Grandmaster before us. On the night of Master's 98th birthday, we cooked a bowl of longevity noodles for Master and bought a bottle of wine. However, Master told us that his time was almost up. After eating this bowl of noodles, he was going to fulfill a long-cherished wish. At that time, I noticed that there was something wrong with Master's tone, so I asked subconsciously, "Master, are you going to die?" Master smiled and said that everyone has died since ancient times. He would have no regrets if he could use his dying body to do something. At that time, we all cried and knelt on the ground, not letting Master go. In the end, Master drank the longevity noodles that night and left resolutely. Before he left, he laughed 3 times. At this point, Niu Qingshan's hand that was holding the tobacco pipe trembled slightly. From then on, there was no news of Master. We didn't know if he was dead or alive. We waited for him for a year, 5 years, even 10 years. In the end, we confirmed that he was dead and built a cenotaph for him. "Your master went to Shang, Santian?" Yichin asked. Niu Qingshan took a good look at him, as if he did not expect Yichin to guess so accurately. He nodded. "That's right." During the chaotic period, many people came from Shang Santian. These people ignored life and death and thought that they were superior. My master said that Shang Santian is the source of evil, so he wanted to eliminate evil. In the end, your master died. Yi Chan sighed softly. We didn't know about the existence of Shang Santian back then. Niu Shan said in a deep voice. Since we couldn't wait for master, youngest junior brother suggested that we split up. Moreover, second junior brother and third junior brother wanted to enter the world, and I couldn't stop them. The four of us could only go our separate ways in the end. 10 years later, there were 4 famous talents in the world. They were Niu Batian, Lei Feihu, Dai Tinglu, and Guan Shanyue. Among them, Guan Shanyue was the most famous. He defeated everyone on Mount Hua and was honored as a martial arts legend. The other 3 must be your junior brothers, am I right? Yichen smiled lightly as he gradually understood his intention. That's right. Niu Shan nodded lightly and said, Lei Feihu is my second junior brother, Dai Tinglu is my third junior brother, and Guan Shanyue is my little junior brother. The 4 of us drifted apart due to different ideals, which led to us becoming enemies. In the end, I, Niu Batian, returned to the Dragon Group. Lei Feihu settled down in Hong Kong, and Dai Tinglu guarded Shanghai. Meanwhile, your little junior brother, Guan Shanyue, is in the Heaven Return Palace. He's the Heavenly Palace's palace master. Yichen revealed the truth before Niu Shan was done speaking. However, he was secretly surprised. He had just killed Lei Feihu's son. Now, he found out that Lei Feihu was the Dragon King's junior brother. Did that mean that he had offended all of them at the same time? You guessed it. Niu Shan was rather shocked. It's actually not difficult to guess it. Yichen chuckled softly. With your ability, there's only a handful of people in the world who can compare to you. I'm sure your 3 junior brothers are among them. You mentioned earlier that you guys don't get along with each other. The person who injured you should be the martial arts legend, Guan Shanyue. Then, he must be the Heavenly Palace's palace master. Amazing. Niu Shan shook his head lightly. That's right. My little junior brother, Guan Shanyue, is the Heavenly Palace's palace master. In China, his position is the same as mine. However, his ability is more powerful than mine, and his talent is higher than ours. Before this, he was the first to break through to Martial Dao Master. Later on, he was the first to break through to Martial Dao Venerable. Therefore, my dragon soul has been suppressed by the Heavenly Palace all these years. I chose to give in because of that. I never thought that I'd become enemies with my little junior brother again because of you, Mad Southern Yi. He forced a smile. During the battle at Heaven Lake, I was only a fake martial venerable. After fighting junior brother, although I injured him severely, I almost died. Theoretically, one was a fake martial venerable while the other was a real martial venerable. There is a huge difference between their abilities, so neither of them would be injured if they fought. However, although Niu Batian was old, he was not afraid of death. It was difficult to cool one's blood after drinking ice for 10 years. On the other hand, Guan Shanyue was used to seeking stability all these years. He was unwilling to get injured, so he seemed to be worried when they fought. That was why Niu Shan caught his flaws. He could not help but look at Yi Chun as he spoke to this point. Actually, I've been paying attention to you since a long time ago. For example, when you killed Yuan Bupo, Northern Devil Jiang, and the rest, I thought you were my second little junior brother. You're a bloodthirsty person, so I wanted to get rid of you. Then, why didn't you do anything? Yi Chun smiled wryly. Because you stopped the U.S. Navy's Commodore Barton from entering our country's territorial waters with your own strength. After you killed him, you even shouted that you would kill anyone who offended China no matter how far you were. I gave up after that. Niu Shan said, at that time, I thought that you wouldn't become my second little junior brother, so I kept you alive until now. Reality has proven that I was right about you. Although you're overbearing and arrogant, you still have your bottom line and principles. He shook his head. However, you shouldn't have killed people from Shang Santian. Not only have you offended my little junior brother, but you've also offended Shang Santian, especially my little junior brother, Guan Shanyue. P.S. For For the third chapter, I still owe you a chapter from before. It's getting late. I'll make it up another day. Chapter 416. Seeing how afraid Niu Qingshan was of Shang Santian and Guan Shanyue, Yi Chen could not help but ask. Is Guan Shanyue really that powerful? He's more than powerful. It's not an exaggeration to describe him as terrifying. Niu Qingshan shook his head slightly. The wrinkles on his old face were intertwined, and there was a hint of seriousness in his expression. The Chinese martial Tao was at its peak 50 years ago. At that time, there was no lack of martial venerables in the world. However, my little junior brother was still able to dominate the world. Most importantly, I suspect that he has entered Kunlun before. Kunlun. Yi Chun frowned. The entrance to Shang Santian is in Kunlun. Niu Qingshan coughed violently a few times and said, "However, no one knows where this entrance is." Back then, youngest junior brother was very close to the people of Shang Santian. Later on, he disappeared for 3 months, so I suspect that he entered Shang Santian and obtained some sort of opportunity. I suppose that's why the Heavenly Palace stopped me from killing the people from Shang Santian. Yi Chun came to a realization and fell into deep thought. Guan Shanyue was related to Shang Santian or had some kind of deal with them. That was why he sent the people from the Heavenly Palace to stop him. That's right. Niu Qingshan nodded lightly. Although I severely injured little junior brother when I fought him, that's because we're from the same sect. Moreover, we've known each other for half our lives, so we know each other very well. Don't worry about it. Yi Chen chuckled softly with a nonchalant expression. I won't attack people if they don't attack me. If he really wants to attack me, I'd like to see exactly how powerful the martial arts legend from 50 years ago is. You're very confident. Niu Qingshan looked at him with a burning gaze. He could roughly guess Yi Chen's ability since he had killed many half-step martial venerables. However, it was hard to tell what would happen if he were to fight a real martial venerable. Yi Chen interrupted him and asked, "Let's not talk about that. Do you know where the 10,000 Swords Pavilion is?" According to Lin Tai, Wu Shuang was saved by an old beggar after the sword was broken. The old beggar even told Yi Chen to look for Wu Shuang at the 10,000 Swords Pavilion. However, he had never heard of the 10,000 Swords Pavilion. 10,000 Swords Pavilion? Niu Qingshan was slightly stunned. He said after a moment of silence, "I've never heard of it, but I'm sure there's no such place in the entire China or even Southeast Asia." He was the Dragon Soul King who had lived for more than 100 years. It could be said that he had a thorough understanding of the world, but he still didn't know of the existence of this place. Yi Chun frowned slightly, seeing that he did not speak. Niu Qingshan seemed to have thought of something and added, "If there really is such a place, it must be at Shang Santian." Yi Chun suddenly said, "Not bad." Niu Qingshan looked at him in admiration. In the entire China and even the entire world, only the existing unknown lands are unknown to me. For example, Shang Santian and the ancient Egyptian temples. These are the unknown lands. Although the dragon soul was strong, it was unable to penetrate these places. Yi Chen secretly sighed. It seemed like Wu Shuang had really been brought to Shang Santian. In that case, he had to make a trip to Shang Santian. Whether Wu Shuang was dead or alive, he had to bring him back. As if sensing his thoughts, Niu Qingshan said, "It's very, very difficult for you to enter Shang Santian. This unknown place has existed for over 1,000 years, and no one has been able to find any traces of it. Even the first emperor of Qin back then couldn't find it despite using the power of the entire country." "Why?" Yi Chen asked. Back then, after the first emperor of Qin unified the country, he pursued the art of immortality. Subsequently, he sent many people to search for immortals. Some of them went overseas to look for immortal mountains, while the rest went to Kunlun. Niu Qingshan put away the tobacco pipe and said while shaking his head, "Kunlun is the ancestor of all mountains and the ancestor of dragon veins. There are 8 veins of dragon veins. 5 veins flow into China, while 3 veins flow into foreign countries. It's said that Kunlun Mountain is the queen mother of the West's resting place." Therefore, the first emperor of Qin wanted to look for the Queen Mother of the West, but everyone who went to Kunlun disappeared mysteriously. Did the people from Shang, Santian find out? Yi Chen asked. I'm not sure about that. Niu Qingshan shook his head and said, the first emperor of Qin was on the throne for 36 years. He started to believe in the art of immortality in 225 BC and died in 210 BC. Within 15 years, he sent over 10,000 people to Kunlun, but all of them disappeared mysteriously. Some said that they encountered demons and were eaten, while some said that they were killed by the natives of Kunlun. He paused as he spoke to this point and continued. However, according to the information that I have, those people died at the border of Kunlun. They couldn't find the Queen Mother of the West's resting place until they died, because there are many strange things happening in Kunlun Mountain. Strange things? Yi Chen frowned. That's right. Niu Qingshan nodded. Someone once saw with his own eyes that the monkeys of Mount Kunlun could learn to stand, eat vegetarian food, and chant the Diamond Sutra. Someone also said that on a certain night in Mount Kunlun, darkness would invade the night. Under the tide of darkness, a living person would be left with only a skeleton in an instant. Also, white fog would appear in Mount Kunlun, and when people walked out of the white fog, they would find themselves in a boundary 2,000 miles away. A gleam flashed through Yi Chen's eyes when he heard that. If what Niu Qingshan said was true, then Kunlun Mountain was really different from the outside world. However, he was not surprised. After all, compared to the cultivation world, Kunlun was just a tiny corner. That made him even more determined to explore Kunlun. Just when Niu Qingshan was going to say something, Li Ying walked over from far away. She said while smiling, Boss, Mr. Yi, it's time to eat. That's all I have to say. It's best that you let me know if there's anything you want to do in the future. Don't act recklessly. This world isn't as simple as you think. Niu Qingshan took a good look at Yi Chen before rolling up his pants and leaving. Yi Chen followed him and had a meal at the Dragon Soul base. He only left in the afternoon. At the same time, somewhere in the sea, a long-haired young man sat with his legs crossed 1,000 meters under the sea proudly. If one were to look closely, one would notice that there was no seawater around him. All of the seawater within 5 meters around him seemed to have moved away automatically, creating a vacuum zone. Meanwhile, the young man was in a vacuum zone. He did not feel anything under the immense pressure of the seawater at all. His eyes were closed while a white glow flickered on his body. White energy was coming out of the top of his head. As soon as the white energy came into contact with the seawater around, the seawater froze. A killer whale opened its mouth to swallow him. However, its massive body turned into an ice sculpture in the next second. At that moment, the long-haired young man opened his eyes and took out something that looked like a phone. After watching the video for a few seconds, a smirk appeared on his cold face. My dear senior brother, you're so tough. You're still alive after being injured by me. Instead, that brat healed you and even became a martial venerable. But do you think you can stop me just like that? Aren't you trapping yourself when you're trying to stop me? Do you really think that I, Guan Shanyue, can't do anything to that brat? P.S. Chapter 1. There are 2 more to go. Chapter 417. At the Lei residence in Hong Kong. An ice coffin stood in the Lei residence's living room. The person in the coffin wore shrouds neatly, but he could not close his eyes no matter how hard he tried. Meanwhile, countless people stood around the ice coffin. The atmosphere was dead silent. Qianer, Lei Feihu, who was dressed in a black robe, stood before the ice coffin. His body could not stop shaking as he looked at the person in the coffin. Don't worry, I'll definitely avenge you. I, Lei Feihu, swear that I'll kill Mad Southern Yi in this life. He extended his hand into the ice coffin as soon as he was done speaking. He wiped the eyes of the person in the coffin, and the pair of eyes that refused to closed all of a sudden. A hunk at the side was shocked to see that. Before this, they had tried countless methods, but they could not make Lei can close his eyes. He would open them again as soon as he closed them. Young Master died with a grievance. He was secretly shocked. Subsequently, he said to Lei Feihu before him, Master, let us do it. We'll definitely tear Yi into pieces. As soon as he was done speaking, 13 hunks leaped out from behind him. 13 burly men leaped out from behind him in unison, and every single one of them emanated a horrifying aura. The pupils of an old man in a Taoist robe constricted slightly because he noticed that all 13 of them were martial Dao masters, and they were all veteran martial Dao masters from many years ago. Any one of them was capable of leaping into the top 3 on the heaven leaderboard. The 13 of them were known as the 13 gangsters. They were adopted by Lei Feihu since they were young, and they were all Lei Feihu's godson. They were ranked according to Lei 1 to Lei 13. Not only did they have terrifying abilities, but they were also proficient in formations. No, Lei Feihu shook his head and said, "You guys are no match for him. This time, Brother Shun and I will do it ourselves. We'll make sure that nothing goes wrong. I'll dig Mad Southern Ye's heart out and sacrifice it to Kan-Er." That's right. Shun Tan Nan, who was wearing a Taoist robe and had white hair, said in his deep voice, "Mad Southern Yi is known as the #1 on the heaven leaderboard and China's #1. He's not as simple as you guys think. Moreover, I heard that he killed a half-step Marshal Venerable with his own hands. His ability shouldn't be any lower than ours. However, he still has to die." A ferocious gleam flashed through his eyes as he spoke to this point. There was sorrow on his face. "This person killed my son, Xingye, and then he killed Lei Kan. He even destroyed my cultivation. I, Shun Tan Nan, will tear him into pieces even if I have to perform a forbidden art forcefully." Feeling the chill in his words, everyone shuddered. The leader of Hong Kong's southern sect, Shun Tianan, was a legend in the spell world. However, he looked decades older now. What they had no idea was that Shun Tianan was about to break through to the legendary origin energy, but his Dao heart was broken by Shun Xingye's beauty. Later on, he consumed his lifespan to derive Yi Chen's figure and suffer backlash. He lifted his head and looked at Lei Feihu. "It's time for you, the tiger of China from 50 years ago, to come out. If we work together, we can even fight a Marshal Venerable, let alone Mad Southern Yi." That's exactly what I was thinking. Lei Feihu's face was cold. 50 years. He had not fought for 50 years. Now that he and Shen Tianan were working together, even his little junior brother would have to retreat. "Who are you?" At that moment, a shout came from outside. A black silhouette appeared in front of Lei Feihu and the rest from 1,000 meters away in the next second. Countless people were shocked, especially the 13 gangsters. One must know that they were all martial Dao masters, but they did not see the person's movements at all. Just when they were going to capture the person, they heard Lei Feihu shout, "Back off, all of you. Back off." Although the people were confused, they backed off anyway. After everyone left, the young man in black said to Lei Feihu with a forced smile while holding his arms behind his back, "Second senior brother, it's been years. Why are you here?" Lei Feihu scoffed as if he did not want to see him. "Second senior brother?" Seriousness flashed through Shun Tianan's eyes when he looked at the young man in black when he heard that. "This must be the Heavenly Palace's palace master, Guan Shanyue. I can't believe that you're still so hot-tempered after so many years." Guan Shanyue smiled, lightly facing Lei Feihu's coldness. He looked at Lei Kan, who was in the ice coffin, and clicked his tongue. "I should have come to see you when you were born, but I was busy with work. I can't believe that we're separated by life and death now. What a pity. Just tell me why you're here." Lei Feihu's expression was extremely gloomy. He knew his junior brother very well. His talent was extraordinarily high, and his strength was the strongest among them. However, he was too fond of currying favor, and he was even selfish. Especially after their master died, he became even more selfish. In the end, they parted ways and had not seen each other for decades. Then, I'll get straight to the point. Guan Shanyue did not mind. Instead, he said while smiling, "I know that the both of you are going to fight Mad Southern Yi. Please forgive me for being blunt, but the both of you won't be his match even if you join forces." "What? Are you here to protect Mad Southern Yi?" Shen Tianan said with his deep voice. His hands that were behind his back seemed to be performing a hand seal. A majestic, mystical chi energy rose from his body. As expected of Shun Tianan, your cultivation potential is the #1 in China in the past 100 years. Guan Shanyue took a good look at him, and his eyes were filled with admiration. Please put away your 3 officials' killer finger. I might respect you if you can break through successfully, but I can't do that now. I'll ask you one last time. Are you here to protect Mad Southern Yi? Shin Tianan's expression was grim. Even if the man before him was a martial arts legend from 50 years ago, he would still fight him if he stood in his way. No. Guan Shanyue shook his head and said, "Third senior brother, Master Shun, Mad Southern Yi has offended our heavenly palace. I sent people to take him away earlier, but first senior brother stopped me." First senior brother? Lei Feihu frowned. Why did first senior brother stop you? If Guan Shanyue was the first person that Lei Feihu feared, then first senior brother Niu Qingshan would be the second. Among the 4 disciples, the eldest disciple, Niu Qingshan, had the worst aptitude and the worst comprehension ability. However, he was the one with the greatest willpower, as well as the most low-key and mysterious one. No one knew how strong he was because he always pretended to be weak. Don't you know? First senior brother? He's stubborn and blindly loyal. Guan Shanyue smirked in disdain. He's Master Shadow. He's always wanted to follow Master's Emperor Dao and bring peace to the people. However, he never thought that even Master would die on the Emperor Dao. How can he do that? Lei Feihu looked upset upon hearing Guan Shanyue's evaluation of Master. Then, why are you here today? First senior brother wants to protect Mad Southern Yi. He's the Dragon Soul King and a martial venerable like me. I'm being held back by him. Guan Shanyue said in his deep voice, "That's why I'm here to help third senior brother." 2 black medicinal pills appeared in his hand all of a sudden as he spoke to this point. Shin Tianan and Lei Feihu's expressions changed as soon as the medicinal pills appeared. Chapter 4:18. This is the demonic life reduction pill. It can forcefully elevate one's ability by sacrificing one's lifespan. It's not an exaggeration to say that both of you are the #1 powerhouses below martial venerables now. Guan Shanyue smiled calmly as he met the duo's gaze. It's not an exaggeration to say that both of you are the #1 powerhouses below martial venerables now. As soon as you consume the demonic life reduction pill, you'll definitely have the combat strength of a martial venerable. Even I have to avoid 2 martial venerables. Dead silence filled the hall. Lei Feihu and Shun Tianan stared at the 2 demonic life reduction pills in his hand. They seemed rather shocked. Lei Feihu said, while suppressing the shock within him, "Did you get this from Shang Santian?" Guan Shanyue smiled without saying anything. "Oomph." Lei Feihu scoffed and said, "Eldest senior brother was right. You really have something to do with Shang Santian. That's not important. What's important is that the opportunity to take revenge is right before you. Meanwhile, my nephew, Lei Qin's body is right before you. It's your choice." Guan Shanyue shook his head lightly. Lei Feihu looked hesitant. After all, he did not have much time left. If he consumed the demonic life reduction pill, he would be 1 step closer to his death. However, his son's body was right before him. It was terrifying. Shin Tianan said, "Is this useful for spell masters?" "Of course." Guan Shanyue nodded. Determination flashed through his face. "Sure, I'll take it." Shen Xingye was his only son and his only successor. Not only did Yi Chun kill his son, but Yi Chun had also destroyed his cultivation base. He would not let Yi Chun live a good life, even if he had to pay the price. "Wait," Lei Feihu suddenly said, "why don't you go to Shanghai to look for third junior brother?" The third junior brother that he mentioned was Shanghai's #1, Dai Ting Lu. His ability was no weaker than his, and he had the best relationship with Guan Shanyue in the past. Third senior brother doesn't want to see me. He even said that he won't interfere with the matter between me and eldest senior brother for the rest of his life. Guan Shanyue did not hide it. Lei Feihu took the pill expressionlessly. "Very good." Guan Shanyue smiled lightly and said, "Guys, the Longmen Convention is starting soon. I advise you guys to kill Mad Southern Yi at the Longmen Convention. By then, expose what Yi Chun has done in front of the world's heroes. By then, the Dragon Soul won't be able to say anything even if you guys kill him. This is a good plan. Shin Tiannan smirked. But how did you know that Mad Southern Yi would participate in the Longmen Convention? If he doesn't go, then wouldn't we have made a wasted trip? Don't worry, he will go. Guan Shanyue smiled faintly and disappeared on the spot. After he left, Shun Tiannan looked in the direction where he left and said in his deep voice, "Your little junior brother is unpredictable no matter if it's his schemes or ability." Guan Shanyue returned to the deep sea once again, and a mocking smile appeared on his lips. "Eldest senior brother, you never expected me to use such a method, right? I want to see how the person you want to protect will deal with two martial venerables working together in the Longmen Convention. As for you, your opponent is naturally me, your junior brother." In Shanghai, a middle-aged man in white stood quietly on the surface of the lake with his arms behind his back. He had no aura at all, as if he was dead. If a powerhouse was present, they would realize that he had merged with the lake beneath his feet, as if he was a part of the lake. "Dad!" At that moment, a lady in a white chiffon dress walked over from far away as she said unhappily, "Dad, I'm going out to play. I'm going to Tiannan. Don't ask Grandpa Wu to keep an eye on me, all right?" The middle-aged man opened his eyes and looked at the lady rather helplessly. He said coldly with a straight face, "Play? Do you only know how to play? Every day? The last time you went to Hong Kong to play behind my back, the sons of two powerful men were killed. If it wasn't for me, would you still be standing in front of me unscathed? That has nothing to do with me, all right?" The lady stomped her feet. "Stop talking." The middle-aged man cut her off. "You'd better stay at home for the time being. You're not allowed to go anywhere. People from South Korea will be arriving soon. Wulong, lock her up." A hunchbacked old man appeared like a ghost. He smiled helplessly at the lady. "Shiyu, follow Grandpa Wu. Grandpa Wu will teach you how to cultivate." "Oomph." The lady scoffed and left. The middle-aged man watched her leave. He only sighed softly after she disappeared. China is going to rise again after being quiet for close to 50 years. I wonder how many people will die this time. Will it be Mad Southern Yi? Or will it be Shun Tiannan and my second senior brother? He lifted his head and looked far away. His eyes were as calm as water. "Little junior brother, eldest senior brother is right. You've changed. You've gone against Master's last wish. Will you only stop when you destroy the Chinese martial Dao inheritance? Do you like being a dog that much?" Almost at the same time, Yichen received a call from Old Shun when he walked out of the Dragon Soul base. He picked it up after some hesitation. "Come to me. The Longmen Convention is starting soon." Yichen's eyes lit up after hanging up the phone. Was the Longmen Convention about to start? It would mean that he could finally head to the geographical vein and break through to foundation building with the help of the sinkhole. He flew to Beijing on his sword gleam. Half an hour later, Yichen appeared in a courtyard house in Beijing. Old Chen glanced at him and went straight to the point. "The Longmen Convention will be held in 3 days. I'm calling you here to discuss something with you." "Discuss what?" Yichen frowned. Old Chen said angrily, "Don't you know that you've offended the Heavenly Palace? They have the highest authority. They found out about the sinkhole in Shenangjia with a simple investigation." Yichen smirked. "What? Is the Heavenly Palace trying to stop me?" "No." Old Chen shook his head and said no. "Firstly, it's because they have no idea why you're going to the sinkhole. Secondly, I'm in charge of the sinkhole at the moment, so they won't fall out with me over it. However, it's better to keep a low profile. Here's what I'm thinking. I'll get someone to bring you to the sinkhole in Shenangjia 3 days later. Don't show up at the Longmen Convention. No matter how they fight, don't cause trouble for me, let alone kill people." Yichen nodded lightly. "Sure. Oh yeah, I've heard that people from Hong Kong, especially Shun Tiannan, will be attending the Longmen Convention too." Old Chen seemed to have recalled something as he looked at Yi Chun helplessly. "Unfortunately, you killed someone's son and the Thunder King's son when you went to Hong Kong a few days ago. Therefore, you have to keep a low profile." He was really helpless when it came to Yi Chun. This brat killed people wherever he went. He would either kill people's disciples or their sons. He would even kill entire families. If not for the fact that this brat knew how to refine medicinal pills and had taken the initiative to give them the medicinal formula, they might not have tolerated him until now. I'll come again in 3 days. Yi Chen turned around and left after hearing what Old Chen said. So what if it was the Thunder King? So what if it was Shun Tianan? Yi Chen had more than just these two enemies. However, most of the people's graves were already 50 feet tall. That's the end of today's update. Thank you for your support. Good night. Chapter 419. Yi Chen returned home after leaving Old Chen's place. He was quietly preparing for the Longmen convention. His physical body was still there at the moment, but his cultivation base had been drained to avoid the space crack when he returned to Earth. To be exact, his cultivation base was still there, but his spiritual energy had been drained. It was like a huge water tank that could initially contain a ton of water. However, there was a hole at the bottom of the tank, causing all the water in the tank to drain. If he wanted to fill the tank again, he would have to fix the hole and keep adding water. Meanwhile, the spiritual energy required for cultivation was just like the water. As long as there was enough spiritual energy, it was possible for Yi Chen to recover his cultivation base instantly. However, spiritual energy was scarce on Earth. He had only recovered to peak stage spirit assembly after returning for 3 months. Foundation building was above spirit assembly. Foundation building, as the name suggested, was to build a Tao foundation to build a good foundation for future cultivation. All foundation building required the help of geographical veins. Among them, geographical veins were divided into heavenly spiritual veins and earthly spiritual veins. There were 72 types of heavenly spiritual veins and 36 types of earthly spiritual veins. The 2 kinds of earth veins were respectively used to cast the earth-grade Taoist root and the heaven-grade Taoist root. The spells they cast were also divided into the 72 heavenly dipper spells and the 36 earthly fiend spells. The 72 heavenly dipper spells were basically mediating creation, reversing yin and yang, shifting stars, reversing the sky and the sun, summoning rain and wind, shaking mountains and earth, riding fog and clouds, and turning rivers into continents. Meanwhile, the 36 earthly spiritual veins were mountain-carrying, wind-riding, fog-spreading, sunny blessing, rain summoning, God connecting among them. Heaven was above and earth was below. Before entering the foundation building stage, the techniques that Yi Chen could perform could be counted on one hand. Most of the time, he would rely on the advantage of his physical body or the divine punch created in 33 days. Once he entered the foundation building stage, he would be able to perform even more techniques. Of course, this depended entirely on the type of foundation building he chose. However, Yi Chen did not have his eyes on the heavenly spiritual veins and the earthly spiritual veins. He wanted to build a divine spiritual veins. The divine grade Tao foundation surpassed the heavenly grade Tao foundation and the earthly grade Tao foundation. Once the divine grade Tao foundation was established, then one would be able to execute the 72 heavenly dipper techniques and 36 earthly fiend techniques, and this was the terrifying aspect of the divine grade Tao foundation. However, the spiritual energy on Earth was scarce. It was difficult to find traces of the Earth malevolent geographical vein, let alone the 1 in a million divine geographical vein. However, Yi Chen was not worried at all because he had an ability that could forcefully transform an ordinary geographical vein into a divine geographical vein. The sinkhole in Shenangjia was his target. Therefore, in the past 3 days, he had been preparing for the foundation building stage. He had spent 10 billion yuan to search for all kinds of precious stones and materials, such as 100-year-old blood corals in the sea and so on. Initially, he planned to guide Lin Tai and Yang Tian in their cultivation. However, ever since he started following the Patriarch of Hell, Yang Tian seemed to have been led astray. Recently, he had been visiting all sorts of nightclubs. At the same time, he had successfully entered beginner stage spirit assembly. Yi Chen was happy to be free. He accompanied Su Yuhan and his daughter while preparing. He could be considered to have stolen half a day of leisure. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. The entire spell world in China was stirred because the Longmen Convention was a grand event in the spell world. It was held once every 3 years, and everyone in the spell world would attend it. The purpose of attending was none other than to exchange cultivation experiences and approve their respective sex names. Most importantly, there would be spell masters who would be there to teach and even preach. Spell masters. The status of those 4 words in the spell world was nothing less than the status of martial Dao masters in the ancient martial world. In fact, it was even more prestigious. It was because it was much more difficult for a spell master to become an ancient martial artist. It focused on one's comprehension, wisdom, and family inheritance. Therefore, countless people from the spell world swarmed to Shenangjia in the past 3 days. They included major cultivation sects such as Mount Mao, Mount Lao, and Mount Longhu. There were also cultivation families such as Lingnan's Zhao family, Hong Kong's Shun family, and the Wu family. After breakfast, Yi Chen received a call from Old Chen. "Little Yi, I've sent people to Tiannan. I think they'll be here by now. You can follow them to Shenangjia by then. I've told them to listen to your command." "Thanks." Yi Chen hung up the phone after saying that. Su Yuhan, who was wearing an apron, walked out of nowhere. She looked rather upset. "Are you going out again? It's boring for me to stay at home alone if I don't." Yi Chen pretended to sigh. "My daughter has started school, and you're the beautiful director of a big company now. You're in the company every day while Mom and Dad go to the nursing home to play chess with them every other day. It's so boring for me to stay at home alone." Just yesterday, the Yi family had a family meeting. During the meeting, they had an intense and deep discussion about whether Yi Mengmeng should go back to kindergarten. As her father, Yi Chen was the first to speak. "I've left countless riches for Mengming's future. Mengming's mother is the director of a corporation. No matter if it's a father or a mother, she won't lose to anyone. Therefore, there's no need for her to study. She just needs to be literate and able to count." In the end, his parents and his wife objected and condemned him as soon as he expressed his opinion. The few of them had the same opinion. His parents said that it was because the Yi family had a big business that they should raise Meng Meng, the only child since she was young. Otherwise, she wouldn't be able to inherit the family business when she grew up. Meanwhile, Su Yuhan was even more straightforward. "I don't care if you fight and kill outside, but I won't allow my daughter to be like you in the future. A girl should act like a girl. Being reserved, polite, kind, and cultured are the characteristics of a good girl. Therefore, my daughter must go to school." Yi Chen was in a stalemate with them. Eventually, Su Yuhan suggested a vote. Yi Chen scoffed and admitted defeat without even thinking about it. Apart from the little girl, there were 4 of them in the family, and 3 of them were standing against him. Was there any meaning in this so-called vote? Therefore, Mengming's grandpa and grandma sent her to school early that morning. She even carried Lu Ban's little school bag and cheered so much that she almost sang the national anthem. Yi Chen could only give up. Su Yuhan rolled her eyes at him in annoyance. She hugged him softly all of a sudden and said softly, "Come back soon." "Yes, I will." Yi Chen sniffed the fragrance in her hair with a hint of infatuation. Subsequently, a red shirt appeared in his hand. "Remember to put this on after I leave." "What's this?" Su Yuhan was stunned at first, but she could not help but blush when she saw it clearly. The shirt in Yi Chen's hand looked like sexy lingerie. It made her think of something indescribable. "This is a protective robe that I've refined. If you put it on, it can protect you from being shot or ambushed." Yi Chen did not notice her abnormality at all. Instead, he began explaining while smiling. The protective robe was the result of his efforts in the past 3 days. Although it was just a mid-grade magic tool, it was enough for Su Yuhan. After all, Iron Tower was protecting her. P.S. The first chapter is gone for today. I'll make it up to you later. Recently, the website has been censoring illegal content. There are a few chapters in this book that have been censored due to minor violations. It hasn't even been a day since we changed them, so there's a delay in updating. I hope that everyone can understand. I believe some of us have noticed this because I'm not the only one. Some books have even stopped updating their content. Chapter 420. After walking out of his house, Yi Chen received a call. "Hello, Captain Yi. I'm Yulei. I'm the person responsible for bringing you to Shenanjia this time. May I know if you need us to pick you up personally? The person spoke politely. Yichin said while smiling, "Where are you guys?" "The entrance on the first floor of Lin City's airport terminal." "Sure, I'll be right there." After hanging up, Yichin did not rush to the airport immediately. Instead, he went to the Little Swan kindergarten. Standing at the entrance, he saw his daughter playing football with her friends on the lawn from far away. Perhaps it had been a long time since she went to school. The little girl seemed rather happy. She was dribbling a football on the football field with a pair of white shoes. Nobody could stop her at all. The little girl suddenly stopped when she was less than 20 meters away from the goal. She moved the tip of her toes lightly and subsequently kicked hard. Could it go in? Yichin could not help but look forward to it. Bang! As a loud thud came, not only did the football not go out, but it was pierced by the little girl's kick instead. Dead silence filled the place. Everyone blankly stared at the little girl as if they were dumbfounded. At that moment, a lady in sportswear walked over while whistling. She must be the little girl's physical education teacher. The little girl was a little nervous, like a child who had done something wrong. "Ms. Wong, I didn't do it on purpose." Ms. Wong bent down and took a good look at the deflated football in her hand. Subsequently, she squatted down and touched the little girl's hand. She asked, "Yi Ming Ming, tell me, how much force did you use?" "Just a little bit." The little girl pouted, feeling wronged. Never had she thought that the ball would be broken just by a little bit. Just a little bit. The smile on Ms. Wong's face froze. Subsequently, she said, "It doesn't matter if it's broken. I won't blame you. Wait a minute." She returned to the equipment room after saying that. Soon, she walked out with a basket in her hand. There were 4 to 5 footballs in it. She placed all of them on the same level and said while smiling, "Kick it a few more times for me to see. Be gentle and kick it boldly. I won't blame you even if it's broken." Under her encouraging gaze, the little fellow nodded his head heavily and then shot his first kick. This time, the ball was not broken and quickly shot into the goal. The little fatty who was guarding the goal did not even have time to react. Mr. Wong nodded. Then, he personally walked to the front of the goal and said to the little fellow from afar, "One more time." Bang! The second ball. Again. Teacher Wong caught the ball in one go. If one looked closely, one would notice that her hands were trembling slightly when she caught the ball. Bang! The third ball. Mr. Wong held the ball and took 5 steps back. Again. The fourth ball. Pa! Mr. Wong's glasses were broken. "Mr. Wong, are you all right?" A large group of little fellows hurriedly ran over. Adorable cried, "Mr. Wong, I'm sorry. I didn't do it on purpose." "No, it's not your fault." Mr. Wong took off her glasses. Instead of being angry, she was elated. She was extremely excited, as if she had discovered a new continent. "Yi Ming Ming, you're a genius. Do you know that? The future of the Chinese women's football team depends on you. How outstanding must their parents be to give birth to such a cute little girl like you? I'm so excited. Our Lin City will definitely have a genius who will win the World Cup in the future." This silly girl. Yichin saw everything, including their conversation. However, he did not know whether to laugh or cry. His silly daughter had eaten so many medicinal pills. It was normal that she could not control her strength well. Su Yuhan was the same as all mothers in the world. She hoped to raise her daughter to be a genius who was morally, intellectually, physically, and aesthetically. Therefore, on the basis of asking the little girl to study, she wanted to develop more hobbies for her. For example, the football in front of her, or drawing. Yichin did not mind that. As long as his daughter was happy, it was fine. After confirming that the little girl was getting along well in school, he shook his head and left quietly. At the same time, on the first floor of Lin City's airport terminal, a young man and woman in blue mountaineering attire were standing at the exit and looking around. They seemed to be looking for someone. The man among them had thick eyebrows and big eyes. His face was filled with righteousness, and his figure was tall and straight, giving off a feeling of being bathed in the spring breeze. The woman beside him was much more youthful and beautiful. Her figure was slender, and she looked around with a hint of heroic spirit. The lady took out a mirror and said absent-mindedly while applying lipstick on her face. "Brother, why do you think the captain sent us out this time? Could it be that they're going for the Longmen convention?" "How would I know?" The young man shrugged, looking like he was in between tears and laughter. "I'm not a parasite in the captain's stomach. Anyway, we just have to follow the captain's orders and follow Sir Yi. Don't ask about anything else." "Boring." The lady closed the mirror and said while pouting, "We've only been in the army for less than half a year. We're still rookies. I haven't even experienced all the tricks in the army, and the captain sent us out. Yu's birthday is tomorrow." "Great. I can't celebrate her birthday, even if I'm out." "What bad luck." She even rubbed her hair hard as she spoke to this point. Clearly, she was upset. "Don't spout nonsense. Since it's the captain's arrangement, he must have thought about it." The young man rolled his eyes at her angrily. People were envious that they could go sightseeing without training, but she was the only one who looked reluctant. The lady rolled her beautiful eyes. "Brother, who exactly is this Sir Yi? He managed to get us, the Fire Phoenix, to show up. Moreover, he's the captain. Who should I ask?" The young man was speechless. The lady smiled awkwardly. "How old do you think he is? What does he look like?" Seeing the young man's impatient expression, she said coquettishly immediately, "Brother, just guess. I'm just bored. I've heard Sir Ye's voice earlier. He should be 40. The young man fell into deep thought and was a little unsure. After all, Yichen sounded too old. Moreover, the phone's sound quality was terrible, so it was difficult to tell. As for his looks, he's not as handsome as me anyway. Phew, I'm sick of looking at him." The lady acted like she was going to throw up immediately and rolled her eyes at him. "I hope that our Sir Yi is more handsome. If that's the case, I might be able to cheer myself up along the way. Otherwise, it'll be boring." The young man was speechless. Just when he was going to speak, a gentle laugh came from behind them. "I'm sorry to keep you guys waiting." Chapter 4:21. The lady turned her head to look immediately. Disappointment appeared on her face at that moment. "Is this our Sir Yi?" She had told her brother that Sir Yi must be handsome before this, but she was slapped in the face. Although her brother said nothing, she seemed to have heard him laughing in his heart. Her enthusiasm vanished instantly. She merely nodded coldly at Yi Chun as a greeting. The young man, on the other hand, smiled lightly. "You must be Sir Yi, right? I'm Yulei who called you earlier." "Oh yeah, this is my sister, Yulian." Compared to Yulian, he was not too emotional. After all, he was a man, so he did not mind the appearance of the same sex. The only thing that surprised him was that Yi Chun was just too young. He seemed to be younger than him. "Nice to meet you guys." Yi Chun smiled calmly as a response. He looked average and was a little arrogant. It seemed like he was not good with words. That was Yulian's first impression of Yi Chun. "Stop talking, brother. Let's go. It's almost time." Yulian stood aside and said softly in dissatisfaction. She could already foresee how boring the trip would be. "Sir Yi, here's your ticket." Yulei smiled and passed the ticket to Yi Chun. As they walked into the terminal, Yi Chun realized that the terminal was packed. There were heads and long queues everywhere as far as his eyes could see. Most of them were wearing strange clothes. He suddenly stopped walking and spread his divine consciousness out. He sensed countless spiritual powers in the lobby immediately. There were even magic waves in those people's bodies. Could they be people who were going to the Longmen convention? Yi Chun secretly speculated. The scene reminded him of what he had seen when he went to Hong Kong. Although he knew that the Longmen convention was unusually popular, he never thought it would be this popular. After all, 2 to 3 out of 10 people were spellmasters. Seeing that Yi Chun had stopped all of a sudden, Yulei, who was walking in front, turned his head and said, "Sir Yi, what's wrong?" Yulian could not help but look at Yi Chun upon hearing that. She thought it was his first time taking a plane, so he seemed a little dazed. She secretly shook her head as she thought about that and said nothing in the end. Nothing. Yi Chun shook his head lightly and followed them. Soon after he left, an old man in a Chinese tunic suit at the ticket counter suddenly glanced at the direction where Yi Chun disappeared in deep thought. Surprise flashed across his face. A woman in a black suit walked out with 2 plane tickets in her hand. She asked subconsciously, "Master, what's wrong?" "I don't know what's going on, but I felt a prickling sensation just now." It was as though someone was spying on me. The old man in the Chinese tunic suit muttered to himself. For a split second, all the hairs on his body stood on end. It was as if he was being stared at by a venomous snake. The pressure was immense, but that pressure disappeared in a flash. It can't be. The lady in black was in disbelief. Master, you're the famous Taoist Banshan from the Banshan lineage. In terms of feng shui, there aren't many people in China who can surpass you, let alone Xianying City, right? She was also someone from the spell world, so she naturally knew that the sixth sense of spell masters was very strong. To put simply, the sixth sense was mental energy. If it could produce the feeling of being spied on, it meant that the person spying on them had very strong mental energy. Perhaps there's something wrong with the air conditioning here. The old man in the Chinese tunic suit shook his head lightly. However, he was satisfied with what his female disciple said earlier. I've been preparing for this Longmen convention for a long time. I must avenge myself and take back my Banshan lineage's treasure, the mountain ruler from the Gold Raiders. That's right. The people from the Gold Raiders are too arrogant. They've been suppressing us all these years. I've been waiting for this day to come, the lady in black said in anger. The old man in the Chinese tunic suit smiled confidently. Apart from Shun Tianan from Hong Kong and Zhang Kadi from Dragon Tiger Mountain, nobody is my match in this Longmen convention. I'm not afraid of Shun Tianan at all. After they sat down on the plane, Yulian took a good look at Yi Chen again. She could not help but ask, why did you go to the sinkhole in Shenangjia? It's filled with fire, and it's scorching hot. There's nothing to see there. Don't tell me that an ordinary person like you went to watch the Longmen convention. They were born in the Fire Phoenix, so naturally they could read people. However, she realized that she could not see through Yi Chen since they met. However, she was sure that he was not a cultivator. The reason being, Yi Chen's fingers were as slender as a lady's. He did not look like an antique who trained his body. Instead, he looked like a rich young master who had never experienced hardship. I'm just going to watch. Yi Chen said nothing more. Yulian scoffed and turned her head away. She was speechless at that moment. 2 hours later, in Fang County, Hubei Province, an SUV eventually stopped at the edge of a village in Fang County. Yulei parked the car by the road and turned his head to say to Yi Chen after turning off the engine, Sir Yi, we're here. Yi Chen nodded lightly and got off the car with the both of them. He saw cars everywhere. Moreover, most of them were luxury cars. The worst one was a Bentley. What confused him was that most of the people there were ordinary people. Yulian walked aside to make a call. Sister Yulian, we're here. At that moment, a cheer came from far away. Subsequently, a teenage girl in a blue and white shirt with a ponytail ran over. There was a muscular young man who was 15 or 16 years old following behind her. Gigi. Joy appeared on Yulian's pretty face. The teenage girl's cheeks were blushing as she approached. She said while panting, Sister Yulian, you guys are finally here. I thought you guys weren't coming. There was a traffic jam on the way, so we're late, Yulian said while smiling. She was speechless when she said that. There were cars all along the way, and they were stuck in a traffic jam for more than half an hour. She could not help but glance at Yi Chen. She was filled with resentment. She felt that if it were not for Yi Chen, she would not have to suffer like this. Don't worry, don't worry. My dad said that he's just worried about you guys. It's good that you guys are here. Gigi looked at Yi Chen as if he was a stranger. Subsequently, she said in a friendly manner, Sister Yulian, Brother Yulei, come with me now. My dad hunted some wild animals on the mountain today. You guys are in luck today. Gigi, let me introduce you guys. Yulei stopped her and introduced while looking at Yi Chen. This is Yi Chen. He's our leader. You could just call him Brother Yi Chen. Mr. Yi, this girl is Gigi. She's just 19 years old this year. She's from the same family as you, so her surname is Yi. The shy guy behind her is Yi Shan. He's 15 years old this year. Hi, Brother Yi Chen. Gigi smiled sweetly. Her brother, Yi Shan, on the other hand, was shy at the back. Yi Chen smiled lightly. Hi. Gigi tugged Yi Shan. Yi Shan then looked at Yi Chen in admiration. Brother Yi Chen, Sister Yulian, and Brother Yulei are already so powerful. I can't believe you're their leader. You must be amazing. Yi Chun was between tears and laughter as soon as he heard that. Yi Chun was between tears and laughter. I'm not powerful. Yu Lien snorted to herself. At least you know your place. Just when they were about to follow Gigi into the village, an unusually arrogant and domineering voice came from behind all of a sudden. Get out of the way. Master Shigu is out. He won't be responsible if he dies. P.S. There's still one more chapter. I owe you 3 chapters earlier. Chapter 422. Get out of the way, Master Shigu is here. We won't take responsibility if you kill yourself. As soon as he said that, there was a rumbling sound. Yi Chun extended his divine consciousness and sensed that there were 3 BMWs driving over in a straight line. There were a few luxury cars following behind them. They were arrogant and condescending. Watch out! Almost at that moment, Yu Lei grabbed Yi Chun's hand and retreated aside with Yu Lien. Meanwhile, the 3 BMWs did not slow down at all. They crashed into Gigi and her sister who were walking at the front directly. Gigi, get out of the way! Yu Lien screamed by instinct. Gigi turned her head. She was dumbstruck when she saw the 3 BMWs charging at her. She forgot to dodge at that moment. Lin, just when Yi Chun was going to save her, his expression froze all of a sudden. As a cold voice came, an extremely muscular hunk appeared before Gigi all of a sudden. The hunk was fearless facing the 3 BMWs that were charging at him. He stomped both of his feet as he roared. He extended his arms that looked like a dragon and charged at the 3 BMWs. Bang! The ground shook and dust was stirred into the air. When the dust faded, the hunk alone managed to stop the 3 BMWs. Meanwhile, the hunk merely took a step back, but his feet were planted deep into the ground. The people in the BMWs looked horrified. Was he still human? Yi Chun snapped back to his senses within a short moment. He walked over and took a good look at Gigi. He was worried. Sister, are you all right? Gigi. Yu Lien walked over quickly too. I am fine. Gigi's face was pale. She shook her head, still in shock. She then said to the hunk before her, Thank you. If not for the hunk, she would have been dead for sure. At the same time, more than 10 hunks walked out of the 3 BMWs and surrounded the hunk. The leader cursed. Who are you? How dare you block Master Shigu's way? However, the hunk said nothing. Don't you guys have any shame? Yu Lien, on the other hand, glared at them angrily. You guys are so overbearing. If he didn't save you earlier, someone would have died. Do you know that? Now you're trying to turn the tables on me? Where did this silly girl come from? How dare you meddle in our business? The other party was enraged and subconsciously slapped Yu Lien. Bang! At this moment, a pebble shot over from afar and directly hit the man's arm. The man screamed and rolled away on the spot, as if he had seen a ghost. Who is it? Forgive and forget whenever possible. An indifferent voice sounded. Soon after, 3 people wearing black clothes and bamboo hats jumped down from a tree. The leader was a tall man. Since she was wearing a bamboo hat, her face could not be seen clearly. However, her voice was a little thick. Shegu, you're indulging your subordinates' lives. Beware of being wanted by the Fekta. Return. After saying this, he turned around and performed a spell on the giant man behind him. The giant man's body suddenly shrunk and turned into a yellow talisman that was kept in his sleeve. Seeing this scene, everyone was so shocked that they couldn't speak. Obviously, they didn't expect that a living person would actually become a talisman. A gleam flashed through Yi Chun's eyes when he saw that. Is that a strong man? Is that the puppet method? Legend had it that Zhang Jiao and his brothers received guidance from the old immortal Nanhua during the Yellow Turban Uprising during the 3 Kingdoms period. The old immortal Nanhua taught them the art of peace, which included the inheritance of the puppet method. Therefore, Zhang Jiao created many Yellow Scarf strongmen after that. The Yellow Scarf strongmen had immense strength. They were invulnerable and did not feel pain. They were known as a divine tool that was fearless of death. Meanwhile, the giant man who saved Gigi looked like a Yellow Scarf strongman. I was wondering who it was. So you're from Shelling. A rather cold voice came. A skinny old man with wrinkles and pockmarks all over his face walked out of the Ferrari behind the 3 BMWs slowly. The old man looked ruthless and his eyes were as sharp as an eagle's. Along with his appearance, they felt like they were in an ice house. You guys from Shelling have never shown yourselves, let alone meddling in worldly affairs. Why are you here for the Longmen convention? Master Shigu glared at Yi-chun and the rest coldly. His eyes eventually landed on the three men in the bamboo hats as he smirked. It's none of your business. I'll give you a piece of advice before I leave. Don't get caught in your own trap. The three men in the bamboo hats said expressionlessly and disappeared far away. Master Shigu watched them disappear coldly. A hunk next to him walked up and said softly with a ferocious gleam in his eyes, Master, the three of them have interrupted your fun. Do you need me to kill them? You? Master Shigu glanced at him in disdain. Do you know that even I have to be wary of them? Do you think your underlings can hurt them? The hunk said nothing in anger. Interesting. Even Shelling is here. Moving mountain, raiding gold. I guess Fakeu can't hold it in anymore, can he? The nefarious bone old man grinned in a playful manner. He had his eyes on Yi-chun and the rest as he said to the hunk, As for these few people, kill them when you have the chance. He returned to the Ferrari as soon as he was done speaking. The three BMWs from earlier continued to clear the way for him. They left like stars surrounding the moon. Yi-chun watched the cars drive away. Yu Lian was furious to see that he was not moving. What are you looking at? Let's go. Everyone was terrified when Gigi was in danger earlier. They could not bear to see her die. Yi-chan was the only one who looked normal. He looked indifferent to death. To her, that was cold-blooded and selfish. Yi-chan did not hear her, because he had been thinking about what kind of existence the secret bureau that the men in the bamboo hats mentioned was. He could not help but glance at Yulei and Yulian. He subsequently shook his head and decided to ask the Dragon King, Niu Shan, about it when he got back. Not long after, the group arrived at Gigi's house. It was a two-story brick house with ordinary decorations. There were pigs, sheep, and other livestock in the house. From this, it could be seen that Gigi's family wasn't very well off. However, the family looked happy, as if they didn't have any desires. Gigi's father was very hospitable. He slaughtered the chickens and ducks himself, and even roasted a wild rabbit for everyone. One could tell that Yulian had a special relationship with them. However, Yi-chun did not ask. The few of them chatted during the meal. Yi-chun listened as he ate. Only then did he find out that Gigi had an elder brother. However, he was in the military and belonged to the same batch as Yulian and the rest. Gigi's family met Yulian when they visited the military. Seeing that they were almost done with their conversation, Yi-chun glanced at Gigi's father, Yi-feng. He said, Uncle Yi, I wonder how many sinkholes are there in Shenangjia? Chapter 423. A sinkhole. It referred to an extraordinary space and shape with a massive volume, steep and enclosed walls, and a deep well or barrel silhouette. It was a natural wonder. Meanwhile, the largest sinkhole discovered in the world had a diameter and depth of over 400 meters. It was not an exaggeration to describe it as an underground city. That was the reason why Yi-chun took the initiative to ask about the sinkhole in Shenangjia during the meal. After all, Gigi's family was not far from Shenangjia. Meanwhile, Gigi's father, Yi-feng, had been to Shenangjia a couple of times, so he must know more than Yi-chun. Yi-feng's chopsticks froze slightly when he heard Yi-chun's question. He glanced at him in slight surprise. I wonder why you're asking that, little brother. Uncle, we're here to investigate the sinkhole. That's why Sir Yi asked that. Yulei, who was standing aside, helped Yi-chun out of the awkward situation. Yi-feng nodded and said, There are around 10 sinkholes that have been discovered in Shenangjia at the moment. There are big and small sinkholes. Little brother, don't blame me for being suspicious. It's because another sinkhole was discovered a month ago, but it's a little strange. Strange? Yi-chun was surprised. That's right. Gigi could not help but interrupt. Brother Yi, the sinkhole that was discovered in Shenangjia a month ago was filled with fire. It was like a volcanic eruption. Moreover, there were antiques in the magma that was erupting. Everyone said that there's an ancient tomb down there. Cough, cough, cough. Yi-feng coughed a few times. Gigi stuck her tongue out and stopped talking. Ancient tomb? Yi-chun took a good look at Yi-feng and said while smiling, Uncle, I won't ask if there's anything that you can't tell me. That's right, Uncle Yi. Why are you being so secretive? Yulian said in a muffled voice while eating a chicken claw. Yifeng looked around and eventually sighed softly. The newly discovered sinkhole always erupts magma. There will be many antiques and bottles on the ground after each eruption. The locals say that there's an ancient tomb down there. He could not help but look at Yi Chun as he spoke to this point. He smiled apologetically. Little brother, please don't mind me. The reason why I didn't want to tell you guys is that I'm afraid that you guys can't help but look for antiques in the sinkhole. Many people have died there. How can there be antiques in magma? Yu Yin was confused. Yulei also nodded. He had only heard of sky burials, cremation burials, burials, and water burials. The first three were all buried in the ground, but he had never heard of people being buried in magma. After all, the temperature of magma was so high that everything that entered it would turn to ash. How could there be a tomb? Where are the antiques? Yichen asked. He was more interested in these antiques. The fact that they were not damaged in the magma at all made them worth his attention. It was taken away. Yifeng shook his head slightly. When we first discovered the antiques, many people picked them up, but before they could warm up, the government sent people to take them away. They even asked us to keep our mouths shut. This was also the reason why he was unwilling to mention it just now. Taken away? Uncle Yi, did those people say who they were? Which department? Yu Yin asked subconsciously. Eat your food. Yulei replied to her with a drumstick. Both of them belonged to the special department, so naturally they knew what they should know and what they should not know. As for the sinkhole, they did not know much about it. Their mission was to take orders to bring Yi Chun to the sinkhole. Forget it. Let's not talk about it. Let's eat. Yu Yin snapped back to her senses. She smiled awkwardly and picked up her bowl to eat. She stopped talking about anything else. Yi Chun was the only one who kept thinking about the sinkhole. It seemed like the sinkhole with magma was the geographical vein that old Chun had found for him a month ago. He could not help but feel excited as he thought to this point. Others might be afraid of magma, but he was not. The meal lasted for a full half an hour. After eating and drinking, Yifeng knew the purpose of Yi Chun and the rest. After hesitating for a while, he finally let Gigi be the guide to bring Yi Chun and the rest to Shenangjia. Before he left, he reminded them many times not to go to the sinkhole with magma. They noticed something. The closer they were to Shenangjia, the more cars and people there were. Gigi said with a pale face when she found out that Yi Chun and the rest were going to the sinkhole with magma. Brother Yi, Sister Yulian, are you guys really going there? It's really dangerous. I heard that the magma erupts irregularly. Yulian was a little scared after hearing what she said. She could not help but look at Yi Chun. Hey, why do you have to go there? Why don't we go somewhere else? There's so many sinkholes anyway. You guys don't have to go if you're scared. I won't blame you guys. Yi Chun smiled calmly and was not moved at all. He closed his eyes after saying that. Who's scared? Yu Yin was pissed. She glared at him angrily and scoffed. Why would I be scared if you're not? Moreover, isn't it just a sinkhole with magma? I've seen something more dangerous than that. All right, since you're going, Sir Yi, there's nothing more to say. Yulei shook his head and turned his head to say to Gigi, Don't worry, Gigi. We won't get too close. You just need to bring me there. Only then did Gigi nod. Yu Yin secretly peeped at Yi Chun. She was pissed to see him resting with his eyes closed and looking relaxed. At the same time, in a Honda SUV, a young man glanced at the old man in the back seat through the rearview mirror while he was driving. Master, I heard that people from Banshan and Shelling are here too, especially the people from Shelling. That's strange. I thought they never show themselves. What else could it be? It must be the heavenly tomb. In the back seat was an old man wearing a gray robe. The old man only had one eye, and the other was blind. His eye was completely white, and he held a dragon-headed walking stick in his hand. He looked very calm and composed. The heavenly tomb? The young man's hand that was holding the steering wheel shook as he exclaimed, Master, could there really be a tomb in that sinkhole? But how is that possible? You must know that it's filled with magma. What's impossible about that? The blind old man smiled calmly. You silly kid. You must know that ever since our tomb raiding sect embarked on the path of cultivation, we've never been in contact with ordinary tombs. This time, the four sects, Tomb Raiding, Shelling, Banshan, and Fake You, have all made a move. We use all of our abilities. I believe we'll definitely be able to open the tomb in the sinkhole. With the four sects working together, even Shen Tianan from Hong Kong will have to think twice. At the Shen residence in Hong Kong, the curtain was white, and it was extremely solemn. Shen Tianan stood before the morning hall with his arms behind his back. He mumbled while looking at the portrait on the wall, "Xingya, I'll avenge you soon. Just wait a little longer. I'll let you live in this world in another way after I kill Mad Southern Yi." He was getting older. He looked like an old man with one foot in the grave. Lei Feihu, who was standing aside, had a complicated expression on his face. Eventually, he could not help but ask, "Tianan, you buried Xingye in the corpse formation ground. Even if you succeed, is he still Xingye? Is he still your son? You've paid a huge price for that. You only have less than 10 years of life left. Is it worth it? It's not worth it or not." Shen Tianan picked up 3 incense sticks and inserted them into the incense burner. He said while shaking his head, "I, Shan Tianan, believe that I'm the best in feng shui and spells in Hong Kong. If I can't predict Xingye's calamity in advance and borrow my son's life from the heavens, why should I cultivate any spells then? Since the heavenly Tao is unfair, why should I follow the heavenly Tao?" Lei Feihu could not help but sigh softly upon hearing that. Shen Tianan stretched his arm out and touched the portrait. He asked without even turning his head, "Brother Lei, have you sent your people out?" "Yes, they're in Lin City now. They'll move as soon as you give the order." Lei Feihu nodded lightly. "Haha, there's no rush." Resentment flashed through Shen Tianan's eyes. "As long as I kill Mad Southern Yi before the 7th day of Xingye's death, you can order your people to do it. By then, I'll use Mad Southern Yi's blood to wake my son up. I'll arrange a marriage for my son. P.S. Another 3 chapters were blocked yesterday. The normal number of chapters is 419, so there should be 422 chapters with the update yesterday. However, 3 chapters were blocked, so the number of chapters is now 419 again. Some of my brothers said that I didn't update yesterday, but I did. It's just that the numbers of the chapters were reversed. Recently, the government has been cracking down on pornography and illegal publications. It's a serious matter. The website is checking the illegal content too. Many books have been banned. The blocked chapters are considered to be relatively light. I'm currently correcting some of the illegal content from before, such as overly flirtatious ones. So, please understand. It'll be fine once the storm blows over. Chapter 424. Over an hour later, the car arrived somewhere near Shenangjia successfully. As far as the eye could see, the whole mountain was filled with people, and the foot of the mountain was densely packed with cars. They were all luxury cars, such as Lamborghinis and Ferraris, and the lowest configuration was a Bentley. Countless people in all sorts of outfits were walking up the mountain. Wow, there are so many people. Yu Yin walked out of the car, her beautiful eyes filled with shock. Gigi did not seem to be surprised. She said obediently, "Sister Yu Yin, I think they're here to participate in the Longmen Convention. We have such a grand event every 3 years. I heard there'll be immortals here too." "Immortals?" Yu Yin failed to react at the moment. "That's right, immortals." Gigi nodded and looked forward to it. "I heard from my dad that these immortals have supernatural powers. Not only can they ride on the clouds, but they can also summon the wind and rain. It's not an exaggeration to say that they're omnipotent." Yu Yin snickered out loud. "Ride on the clouds? Omnipotent? Gigi, I can't believe that you're superstitious. Those who don't know better might think that you're telling me a fairy tale. I'm telling the truth." Gigi panicked at the moment. "All right," Yu Yin said. "Gigi, what you said only exists in movies or novels. Listen to me. There are no immortals in this world. You must believe in science. Do you understand? If there really are immortals, wouldn't the world be in chaos?" "That's right." Yulaine nodded as well. The Fire Phoenix belonged to the Special Forces. As members of the Fire Phoenix, the most powerful thing that he and Yulien had ever seen was in the army. There was someone who could slap a nail into a wooden board with one hand. That was the result of years of training. Gigi looked like she was in deep thought. She could not help but look at Yi Chun, who was silent. Brother Yi, do you think there are really immortals in this world? Yi Chun smiled calmly. There should be. Should? Yu Yin rolled her eyes at him and said angrily, No means no. What do you mean by should? Gigi is still a child. Don't instill such thoughts into her head. Those immortal masters that she talks about are just a bunch of scammers. Yi Chun was speechless. Little girl, I don't like what you said. Right at this moment, a mocking voice resounded from behind them. They turned around and saw a woman dressed in black, holding an old man in a Chinese tunic suit walking over slowly. The two of them walked very slowly. The old man was about 60 years old and wore a jade ring on his thumb. Yu Yin frowned. Old man, I didn't say anything, did I? When the old man in the Chinese tunic suit approached, he did not know whether to laugh or cry. You didn't say anything to me directly, but you also scolded me when you said that we are all charlatans who cheat us of our food and drinks. I'm talking about an immortal master. Do you think you're an immortal master? Yu Yin snorted coldly. I'm Yuan Chitai of Xianyang, and this is my disciple, Deng Chan. I don't deserve to be called an immortal master, but I do know a little about feng shui. The old man in the Chinese tunic suit shook his head slightly and said, That's why I couldn't hold back when I heard the little girl's contempt for the spell world. Those who study feng shui, aren't they scammers? Yu Yin chuckled. She had never believed in feng shui and fortune-telling. Even though she had seen a strong man from Shelling before, she thought that they were just tricks to cheat people of their food and drinks. Yulei glared at her and smiled apologetically at Yuan Chitai. I'm sorry, old man. That's just my sister's temper. I hope you don't mind. Although that was the case, Yu Yin was still smirking. The lady next to Yuan Chitai, Deng Chan, could not help but say angrily, A bunch of frogs at the bottom of a well. She waved her hand at Yu Yin after saying that. Yu Yin and Yu Lei acted like they were facing a great enemy, as they thought she was going to attack. However, Yu Yin noticed that there was a red butterfly-shaped hair clip in Deng Chan's hand. She could not help but touch her head subconsciously and realized that there was nothing on her head. She yelled angrily, How did you get my hair clip? Huh? Deng Chan smiled disdainfully and blew at the butterfly-shaped hair clip in her hand. The hair clip turned into a red butterfly in the blink of an eye and flew into the air. It flapped its wings and flew around the group. Yu Yin was stunned when she saw that. Yu Lei and Gigi had disbelief on their faces. I'm returning it to you. Deng Chan waved at the butterfly in the air, and the butterfly returned to her hand to turn into a hair clip. She tossed it, and the hair clip returned to Yu Yin's head accurately. She had a proud expression on her face. Now, you should know what sorcery is, right? Yu Yin was embarrassed. Yu Lei, on the other hand, suppressed his shock and clasped his fists at Deng Chan and Yuan Chitai. Oh, it's you, master. We were wrong. Please don't mind us. Don't worry about it. Yuan Chitai smiled calmly, looking like an expert. Deng Chan glanced at Yi Chun by instinct. She could not help but frown when she noticed that there was no surprise on his face at all. The feeling of flaunting vanished instantly. Let's go, Yi Chun said when Gigi was going to ask Deng Chan a few questions. Gigi then looked away reluctantly. She led Yi Chun and the rest to the other side of the mountain path. It was a small path that led deep into Shenanjia. Yuan Chitai glanced at the direction where the few of them had disappeared and subsequently shook his head. Xiaochan, don't ever flaunt in front of people in the future. Do you understand? Master, those guys were rude to you earlier. I couldn't take it anymore. Deng Chan was rather upset. Let them be. Remember, don't flaunt in the future. Otherwise, it'll bring you a lot of karma and trouble. Yuan Chitai sighed softly and lifted his eyes to take a good look at the people before him. He said, It seems like the people from the other 3 branches aren't here yet. Let's check out the sinkhole first. Half an hour later, the bunch of them arrived at a Colonel Gigi wiped her sweat and pointed below. Sister Yu Yin, Brother Yi, that's the sinkhole that's releasing lava. The few of them looked where she was pointing and could not help but be stunned. They saw a gigantic sinkhole on the ground 20 meters below them. The sinkhole was approximately 10 meters in diameter and was so deep that they could not see the bottom. Within a kilometer around it, There was nothing but red, scorched soil. If one were to look closer, one would notice that the air above the sinkhole was shaking and twisting. It was clearly caused by the high temperature. The temperature was at least 50 degrees Celsius. It's so hot. Yulian could not stop wiping the sweat on her face with a tissue. However, she realized that she could not wipe all of it no matter how hard she tried. Her face was like a ripe apple. Yulei nodded. He was drenched in sweat. Sister Yulian, let's go. It's too hot here. Gigi took out her water bottle and gulped down mouthfuls. Steam was rising from her head. Yulian could not help but look at Yi-chun. She said angrily, Sir Yi, since you're done looking, let's go. Otherwise, you'll die from the heat. The temperature here is just too high. Gigi and Yulei looked at him instantly. No, you guys go first. I'm going down to check it out. However, Yi-chun shook his head lightly. He walked down the path that led to the bottom before they could react. Seeing this scene, the three of them were instantly shocked. Chapter 425. Sir Yi, where are you going? Yulei's expression changed instantly. He realized that it was too late when he wanted to stop him, so he called out immediately. Brother Yi, come back now. It's too dangerous. Gigi turned pale from fear. Come back now, you idiot. Do you want to die? Yulian was stomping her feet in panic. We're dying from the heat, even though we're standing so far away. Forget that you're not leaving, but how dare you go down? What's the difference between that and seeking death? Are you crazy or stupid? She wanted to go down and bring Yi-chun back by instinct, but Yulei stopped her. Don't go. On a giant rock less than 30 meters away from Yulei and the rest, Yuan Chitai and his disciple looked at Yi-chun, who was below. They were stunned. What's that brat doing? Yuan Chitai, in particular, had disbelief written all over his face. One must know that he dared not go down despite his high cultivation base. The high temperature would cause him to use his mysterious chi to protect his body continuously. It would also accelerate his metabolism. Dang Chan, who was next to him, screamed, Master, is that guy out his mind? Does he have to do that for a few pieces of scrap metal? Why doesn't he see that even we don't dare to go down? How dare he? She thought Yi-chun was going for the antiques around the sinkhole. At that moment, the ground shook intensely. Dang Chan staggered and almost rolled down a mountain. When she finally steadied herself, her face was pale. What happened? Yuan Chitai squinted and could not help but look at the sinkhole. He seemed to have recalled something as his expression changed. Oh no, the lava is erupting. He was a spell master who mastered spiritual power. His sixth sense was very powerful. Although he was far away, he could sense that there was a ball of scorching heat erupting from below. He flashed as he thought to this point, turning into an afterimage and dashing toward Yulian and the rest. The three of them were shocked by the tremor earlier. They thought it was an earthquake. Yulian was secretly cursing Yi-chun. The lava is erupting. Quick, grab my hand. I'll bring you guys up. Yuan Chitai grabbed Yulian and Gigi with both hands. He waved and summoned a strong wind out of nowhere. He carried Yulei and leaped up. Yulei said immediately after he stood still, Senior, please save Sir Yi. He's still down there. Nothing must happen to him. It's too late. Yuan Chitai sighed lightly, and his expression was extremely heavy. Boom! With a thunderous sound, the earthquake became more and more intense. It was as if the whole mountain was shaking. Then, a pillar of fire suddenly shot out from the giant sinkhole. The diameter of the fire pillar was about 10 meters. It was like a fire dragon that shot up to a height of 20 meters. Then, it turned into a torrent and fell to the ground. With the sinkhole as the center, it swept out in all directions. Wherever the surging magma passed, not a single blade of grass was left. Everyone's faces turned pale as they truly felt the power of heaven and earth, especially Yulian and the other two. They did not take it seriously when Yifeng mentioned it earlier, but now that they witnessed it with their own eyes, they could not help but tremble in fear. Even Yuan Chitai was no exception. As the leader of the Banshan lineage, he believed that he had a deep understanding of magical techniques and had a certain level of attainment. However, in the face of the surging magma, he appeared very weak and powerless. Look, what's he doing? Ding Chan exclaimed. The few of them looked at where she was pointing. They saw a skinny silhouette at the foot of the mountain advancing instead of retreating as the magma was erupting. He took the initiative to walk quickly toward the magma that was gushing out. Who else could it be if not Yi Chun? Yu Yin's face turned pale again. Does he want to die? Brother Yi, Gigi screamed while crying. Yuan Chi Tai was fuming. Why is this young man so foolish? Although antiques are great, he needs to be alive to take them. At that moment, Yi Chun was less than 10 meters away from the magma that was gushing out. He was walking faster as excitement filled his face. Such a dense fire element aura. The closer I get, the denser the aura is. Judging from this, I can tell how dense the fire element in the sinkhole is. There must be fire essence in there. Boom! The magma rushed over and drowned Yi Chun completely. Sir Yi, Brother Yi, Yu Yin, Yu Lei, and Gigi screamed at the same time when they saw Yi Chun being devoured by the magma. Despair filled their faces. Oh no! Yu Lei sat on the ground and mumbled. Captain asked us to protect Sir Yi, but he's dead. How are we going to explain this to him when we get back? I shouldn't have brought Brother Yi here. Gigi's eyes were wet as regret filled her face. Yuan Chi Tai shook his head lightly and looked at the magma beneath with a serious expression. He said, let's go. We shouldn't stay here for long. The Longman Convention should be starting soon. One idiot. Great. It doesn't matter if you're dead, but you're dragging us down with you. Yu Yin glanced at where Yi Chun disappeared and left with Yuan Chi Tai after shaking her head. Nobody doubted that Yi Chun was dead at all because even an armored tank would melt under the impact of the magma. Unless he was Sun Wukong. At the same time, there was a sea of fire in the sinkhole. What everyone didn't know was that there was a person standing proudly in the sea of fire in the surging magma. He was surrounded by endless flames and the magma beneath his feet, but it didn't cause him any harm at all. This place doesn't look like a volcano at all. Where did all the magma and flames come from? Could there really be fire essence here? Yi Chun hovered in the air and lifted his eyes to take a good look at the sea of fire before him. He realized that the interior was really huge. It was at least 1,000 square meters. There were 4 natural caves around, and the flames and magma must have come from there. He could not help but release his divine consciousness to check one of the caves. However, he realized that the coverage of his divine consciousness in the sea of fire was very small. The temperature isn't high enough. The pressure is too little for me. Yi Chun shook his head lightly. He had to accept a certain level of pressure to achieve the Tao Foundation. He could only unleash all of his potential under intense pressure. I hope that you won't disappoint me. He took a step out and walked slowly to the cave on the far left. He realized that the deeper he went, the higher the temperature was. If it was 200 degrees Celsius outside, the temperature would increase by at least 10 degrees with each step he took. Eventually, it became 300 degrees Celsius. Under such high temperature, Yi Chun's forehead could not help but sweat. However, he did not stop walking and proceeded to go deeper. A red silhouette suddenly appeared behind him. Subsequently, it charged at his back like a specter. Yi Chun threw a punch behind him. The thing shrieked in pain and retreated a few steps back. It looked at Yi Chun in fear from far away. It was an animal the size of a pigeon. However, its entire body was red. To be exact, it was covered in flames like a firebird. Baifeng? Yi Chun squinted. Chapter 426. The Baifeng Divine Bird. There was a record in the classic of mountains and seas, West Mountain scripture. There's a bird that looks like a crane. It has 1 leg, red markings, green skin, and a white beak. Its name is Baifeng. It's called Baifeng. Baifeng is a sign of fire. There will be fire wherever it appears. Meanwhile, the thing before him was covered in flames and looked like a crow. At first glance, Yi Chun thought it was a Baifeng. He subsequently shook his head and said, it's not a Baifeng. It looks like a fire crow, and it doesn't seem to have a physical body. He grabbed the fire crow before him. It was shocked, and the flames on its body grew more intense. It charged at Yi Chun again after shrieking. It even spat flames out of its mouth. However, the flames did not affect Yi Chun's body at all. Yi Chun grabbed it accurately. In the next second, it turned into a ball of fire and merged into the sea of fire around him. It really isn't a physical body. It seems like a virtual body formed by the flames here. But why would it form a fire crow? Could it be? With a thought, he turned around and continued walking into the tunnel. He had only taken a few steps when several more fire crows appeared in front of him and behind him. These fire crows were even larger than before. These fire crows charged at him without fear of death. Yi-chun proceeded to walk after lifting his arm and slapping them away. The temperature within a short 100 meters had risen to over 500 degrees Celsius. Meanwhile, there were more and more fire crows blocking his way. From a few to dozens, there were so many of them. If he were an ordinary person, he might have died. After walking for over 100 meters, the view before him became low-lying. It was a crater that looked like a pond. It was filled with bubbling lava. Meanwhile, there were obsidian walls around him that had cooled down. There was no way out. Tui. At that moment, the lava in the crater was boiling. Countless bubbles came out of it. Each bubble would turn into a fire crow when it rose into the air. There were at least a few hundred of them. Kill. Yi-chun took out the almighty killer sword. Sword chi spread within 200 meters. All the fire crows that entered the range were torn into countless flames by the sword chi. Soon, none of them were left alive. The flying sword in his hand seemed to have sensed something. It suddenly slashed behind him, and a shriek came from behind him. Yi-chun turned his head to look. A giant fire raven about a meter tall was clinging to the rock wall, looking at him with a fearful expression. Upon closer inspection, one could see that its beak was broken, and blood was dripping onto the rock wall like fire. I knew it. Yi-chun revealed an expression that said, as expected. He had previously wondered why there would be a fire crow energy body in this place, and secretly guessed that such a thing might really exist, and that it was hovering in this giant pit. But he didn't expect it to be true. The one in front of him was the parent of all the fire crow energy bodies. Looking at its appearance, it had cultivated for at least 100 to 200 years, and its strength was around the middle stage of the spirit-gathering state. You're quite smart, you evil creature. You know how to use incorporeal bodies to exhaust my magic power along the way. You even know how to use hundreds of incorporeal bodies to restrain me and then launch a sneak attack on me from behind. Yi-chun smiled lightly. But you've underestimated me. If it was an ordinary cultivator at the peak of spirit assembly, they would have to constantly use their magic power to create a barrier to protect themselves if they wanted to enter the sinkhole. In the long run, their magic power would be exhausted. However, Yi-chun did not do that. The other party roared, but it dared not move forward. It glared at the almighty killer sword hovering above Yi-chun's head. Clearly, the sword attack earlier had injured it to a certain extent. If I'm not mistaken, the reason why you're stopping me in such a hurry is because you're afraid that I'll find out about something, am I right? Yi-chun proceeded to say. The giant fire crows first stood on end. The flames on its body burned even more. Yi-chun was fearless. He stretched his arm and pointed at the magma pond beneath him and chuckled softly. Moreover, your secret is down there. I'm only looking for one thing this time. As long as you don't stop me, I'll consider sparing your life. He said nothing more after saying that, and turned around to walk to the magma pond. At the same time, the fire crow attacked Yi-chun like it had gone mad. Clearly, Yi-chun was right. You're so stubborn. A sword gleam flashed and cut it in half. Yi-chun did not even look at it. He leaped into the rumbling magma and kept going deeper. Approximately 10 minutes later, he arrived at the bottom of the magma and realized that there was a stone door at the bottom. The stone door was approximately the height of a person and was covered with limestone. Yi-chun pushed it and realized that it was rather heavy. He picked up his flying sword and cut it open completely, revealing a cave. He covered it with his divine consciousness and walked in after sensing no danger. The scene before him changed again. It was a narrow space. There was a faint sound of water coming from far away. Yi-chun realized that it was a small river that flowed from west to east when he got closer. It seemed to be an underground current. Meanwhile, there was a pontoon bridge above the river. There was a man-made cave abode at the end of the pontoon bridge. Could there really be an ancient tomb? Yichen thought to himself. He could not help but step onto the pontoon bridge and walk into the cave abode. He scanned with his divine consciousness and saw 3 stone rooms. Each stone room was approximately 100 square meters and had a simple layout. Meanwhile, there was a pill cauldron in the middle of the first stone room. The pill cauldron was made of bronze and was approximately 2 meters tall. There was a dragon head on each side with a groove at the waist and a lid at the top. There were many firewood scattered around it. However, the firewood had rotted while the ground was covered in dust. Yichen walked to the second stone room. There were a few wooden shelves with various yellow books on them. One of them turned into dust as soon as he touched it. In the third stone room, there was a jade bed. Moreover, it was made of cold jade, and it was emitting cold air. An old man in Taoist robes sat cross-legged on the jade bed. His head was buried in front of his chest, and his hands were placed on his thighs, forming hand seals. Yichen looked calm as usual because he did not sense the old man's aura. Clearly, he was long dead. He was surprised when he was going to withdraw his divine consciousness. His body isn't rotting? Although the old man was long dead, his body was still intact. He might not be able to do that with the jade bed alone. Yichen could not help but go forward to check. He was shocked to find out that there was an unusually intense heat in the old man's body. The heat covered his entire body and merged with the chill coming out of the jade bed beneath him. As the heat and ice alternated, his body was protected. What's this? Yichen scanned with his divine consciousness and sensed a black stone in the old man's body. The stone was approximately the size of an egg. There was a golden flame flickering in the middle. The golden flame was merely the size of a fingernail, but it gave Yichen an unusually dangerous feeling. Yichen was surprised and delighted. It's the golden fire crystal. Chapter 427. At the Shinnong altar in Shenangjia. The Shinnong altar was built on a mountain. It was divided into the heaven altar and the earth altar. There was a giant statue of Emperor Yin Shinnong with a bull's head and a human body standing in the middle of the heaven altar. The earth altar was below the heaven altar. There was a square that could accommodate thousands of people. 2 10-meter-tall totem poles stood on both sides at the front of the earth altar square. Meanwhile, there was an altar between the totem poles and the relief sculptures. The altar was set up according to the ancient emperor's altar. The sacrificial vessels made of bronze were placed in the middle, while the incense burner, incense table, golden bell, and drum were placed before the altar. At the moment, there were close to 1,000 people at the earth altar square. People in all sorts of outfits were greeting each other with their fists clasped. It was bustling, and it would not be an exaggeration to describe it as boisterous. Meanwhile, in a corner of the square, Yulei and Yulian were looking around and observing the crowd. Shock filled their eyes. Gigi could not help but say, "There are so many people participating in the Longmen Convention this year." That's right. Apart from a concert, it's my first time seeing such an unofficial, private event. Yulian could not stop nodding as she took a good look at the crowd. Yulei said absent-mindedly, "Yulian, why don't we go back? After all, brother, didn't you tell the captain over the phone? He doesn't seem to be mad. Since that's the case, let's leave after watching the Longmen Convention," Yulian said angrily. But Yulei sighed. Just now, he had called the captain and told him everything that had happened. Originally, he was ready to accept punishment, but who knew that the captain would reply with 4 words, "I understand." This made him feel very uncomfortable. "No buts." Yulian glared at him and said, "It's not easy for us to come out. An hour or 2 won't make a difference, right?" Moreover, Deng Chan said that the Longmen Convention this time will be exciting. She was secretly upset. It was supposed to be a great mission, but Yichen insisted on going into the sinkhole and ended up dying in the lava. Although the captain said nothing, she was secretly worried. She could not help but secretly scoff as she thought to this point. "You're dead, but we still have to live in fear. We might even be implicated by you. We really owe you in our previous lives." Just as they were talking, they heard a commotion coming from the back of the crowd. Everyone turned around and saw a few black-robed men carrying a palanquin rushing over. On the palanquin sat a black-robed, skinny, sinister-looking old man. The old man sat cross-legged, motionless. What shocked everyone the most was that the palanquin was suspended in midair. In other words, those black-robed men were carrying the palanquin and flying through the air. Yu Yin and the other two were stunned. The rest of the people could not help but gasp. Oh my God, they can still run in the air while carrying a palanquin? You won't fall? Or am I dreaming? It's Master Shigu. I can't believe he's here too. Master Shigu? Don't tell me it's the one who dominated the southern border? The four hunks flew over the people's heads directly. Master Shigu laughed and flew out of the palanquin as everyone watched with their mouths agape. He then landed on the stone steps between the heaven altar and the earth altar. Greetings, Master Shigu. Many people clasped their fists at him immediately. Yu Yin, her sister, and Gigi watched all of that blankly. Their emotions were in turmoil, and they felt like their world had collapsed. Why is this man here too? Yuan Shitai, who was next to Yu Yin, frowned in disdain. He did not like Shigu because the man was the descendant of the Xiangxi corpse-herding sect. The Xiangxi corpse-herding sect was originally a profession that blessed the dead and comforted the living. However, the corpse-herding sect had been using zombies to transport poison since they fell into Shigu's hands. Moreover, the man was cruel and unscrupulous. He often stole corpses from morgues and funeral parlors. Although the four major tomb-raiding sects, including the Banshan, used to dig up people's ancestral graves, which was something unspeakable, they had no grudges with the living. They had their own bottom line. The next moment, 3 black silhouettes flew over from the distance, and in the blink of an eye, the black silhouettes had arrived. Everyone saw that the 3 bamboo hat men were descending from the sky, each holding a black umbrella. The black umbrellas were rapidly spinning, tightly holding their bodies. Who are they? Someone was confused. However, nobody replied to him. Only a portion of the people's pupils shrunk. They recognized the 3 men as Xialing, one of the 4 major tomb-raiding sections. Rumor had it that Xialing and Fakyu were the most mysterious among the 4 major sections. They had never contacted outsiders. However, why were they here at the Longmen convention instead of going to tomb raiding? Yu Yin also recognized that the 3 of them had saved Gigi before. The 3 men in bamboo hats walked straight to the side and stood with their hands behind their backs. They said nothing, but they glanced at Yuan Shitai by instinct when they walked past him. Yuan Shitai looked back too. More people arrived before the people could react. Leading the group were 2 men in yellow robes. It's Master Zabu from Tantric Tibetan Buddhism and Taoist Master Meng Haoran from Mount Lao. Within 10 minutes, there were tens of people in the earth altar. The people were shocked to find out that almost all the cultivation sects and organizations in China were here. Someone took a deep look at the few people beside Yuan Shitai and thought to himself in shock, Banshan Chief, Gold Raider, Fakyu Heavenly Official, Xialing Chief, the 4 major sects of tomb raiding are all here. Which emperor's mausoleum did they have their eyes on? At that moment, countless eyes glanced at Yuan Shitai and the rest, including Yu Yin and the other 2. Yu Yin could not stand the stairs, so she could not help but drag Gigi and Yu Lei to the side. She dared not get too close to Yuan Shitai and the rest. Yuan Shitai did not care at all. He kept moving his lips while the few people next to him moved their lips too. They seemed to be communicating with their lips. One of the blind old men moved his lips slightly. Old Yuan, have you checked where the heavenly tomb is? I have. Yuan Shitai shook his head lightly. But I couldn't get close to the magma eruption, so I'm not sure if there's really a tomb there. It must exist. An old woman beside him coughed and mouthed. The previous chief of my Fakio lineage had left behind a letter before he died. It recorded that there's a tomb of an origin energy realm powerhouse beneath the sinkhole. As soon as that was said, the few of them, including Yuan Shitai, had a burning desire in their eyes. Origin energy, that was above illuminating God. It was every spell master's lifelong pursuit. The entire Chinese cultivation world had been passed down for hundreds of years, but there was no origin energy powerhouse until now. One could tell how difficult it was to get to origin energy. No matter what, The four major tomb-raiding sects have joined forces this time. We'll go through mountains of knives and seas of fire. If there's really an Origin Energy powerhouse's tomb, we'll discuss how to divide it later. A man in a bamboo hat said in a deep voice. A few of them nodded. Just when they were going to say something, someone exclaimed all of a sudden, Celestial Master Zhang from Dragon Tiger Mountain is here. Chapter 428. Mount Longhu, the birthplace of Taoism in China, known as one of the four sacred places of Taoism. According to legend, the founder of Mount Longhu, Zhang Daoling, had once refined the nine heavens divine pill on Mount Yunjin. It took him 3 years to complete the pill. On the day of the pill's completion, there was a heavenly phenomenon of a dragon and a tiger. After he consumed the pill, he gathered clouds and ascended. Therefore, Mount Yunjin was renamed as Mount Longhu by later generations. Zhang Daoling became the Celestial Master. Mount Longhu had existed since the end of the Han Dynasty for nearly 2,000 years. Every generation of sect leader had been a person with the surname Zhang. Despite the decline of Mount Mao and Mount Lao, Mount Longhu remained as the sun in the sky. This was a testament to its status in the world of spellcasters. Therefore, after hearing that Celestial Master Zhang from Mount Longhu had arrived, the noisy crowd immediately quietened down. Everyone could not help but look back. An old man with white hair and a youthful face in green robes walked over slowly with a horsetail whisk in his hand. He looked like an immortal. Compared to Master Xiegu's flashy entrance, the old man seemed to be keeping a low profile. Even so, no one dared to underestimate him. They subconsciously made way for him with deep respect on their faces. Even Yuan Shitai and the others did the same. This was because the other party was the current sect leader of Dragon Tiger Mountain, as well as the president of the Sorcery Association, Zhang Kadi. His Taoist name was Xianxing, which was why he was called Zhang Xianxing. He was someone who led Dragon Tiger Mountain and all the spell masters in the entire Chinese sorcery world. Due to his extraordinary Dao method and his high prestige, he and Hong Kong's southern sect leader, Shun Tiannan, were known as the powerhouses who were closest to Origin Energy. They were known as legends in the spell world. Greetings, Celestial Master Zhang. When Zhang Xianxing approached, everyone bowed from the bottom of their hearts, emitting a tsunami-like sound. Zhang Xianxing nodded lightly and walked up the 243 steps alone. Eventually, he arrived before the Shinong Yin Emperor's giant bull-headed human statue. He lifted his eyes to look at the crowd and said, Shen Tiannan isn't here yet. Celestial Master, I haven't seen Shen Tiannan yet. Master Xiegu was all smiles in the crowd. Forget it. Since he's late, let's begin. Zhang Xianxing shook his head and said, I hereby announce the official start of the Longmen Convention. The top 3 can enter the Dragon Tiger Mountain to visit the Scripture Pavilion and borrow all sorts of books. As soon as he said that, everyone's spirits were shaken and their breathing became hurried. Mount Longhu was an ancient sect that had been passed down for 2,000 years, so it had countless ancient books. If they could borrow them, their cultivation would definitely soar. The next moment, Zhang Xianxing spoke again. I believe everyone knows the rules of the Longmen Convention. It's only about who's stronger and who's weaker. If anyone dares to violate it, don't blame me for being merciless. Everyone said in unison, We will follow your orders. Master Xiegu leaped onto the heaven altar as soon as he calmed down. He said in a condescending manner, I, Xiegu, believe that my spell is number 1 in Tiannan. Is there anyone who's willing to spar with me? As his voice fell, many of the people who were tempted to step forward immediately stiffened. The fire in their hearts was extinguished, and they were filled with fear. Xiegu's cultivation base was at least at the spirit realm. Asking them to compete with a spirit realm warrior? What kind of joke was that? Many of them secretly cursed Master Xiegu for being shameless. Don't experts like you always show up last? However, there were people who were not afraid of him. An old man from the Wu family from Lingnan scoffed, Xiegu, how dare you say that your spell is number 1 in Tiannan? What? Wu Yin, if I can't do it, do you think you can? Master Xiegu's smile turned cold as he spoke in a creepy manner. At least I have some self-awareness. Wu Yin chuckled. However, I know that you can't catch up to me in terms of spell cultivation base in the entire Tianan. Many of the people secretly chuckled when they saw the duo arguing. They looked like they were watching a good show. After all, everyone knew that the Wu family from Lingnan and Master Shiegu from Nanjiang never got along. "I'd like to know who it is," Master Shiegu said, while smiling instead of being mad. Wu Yin took a deep breath in and enunciated word for word. "I'm afraid you've forgotten that there was a Master Yi who could control the divine thunder in Lin City in Tiannan some time ago." The people were stunned at first as soon as they heard that. They could not help but inhale sharply as they had clearly heard about him before. "Are you talking about the number one on the heaven leaderboard, Mad Southern Yi?" Master Shigu's expression changed slightly, and he said in slight fear, "Mad Southern Yi is an ancient martial artist. I admit that he has a powerful ability. It's not an exaggeration to say that he's the number one in China in terms of ancient martial arts cultivation base. However, I don't believe that he's a spell master." Many people had heard about the fact that Mad Southern Yi was Master Yi who could control the divine thunder. He looked at the people as he spoke to this point, and spoke again. "Guys, think about it. Since the beginning of time, there have only been ancient martial artists and spell masters. Since when has there been a spell master and martial arts dual cultivator? To me, it's just a rumor that Mad Southern Yi can control the divine thunder." The people nodded by instinct and agreed with him. Even Zhang Xianqing from Dragon Tiger Mountain was no exception. The path of cultivation was truly difficult. Whether it was ancient martial arts or spell master, it was as difficult as ascending to heaven. Ordinary people could not master any of them, even if they spent their entire lives, let alone dual cultivation. Master Shigu glanced coldly at Wu Yin and could not help but say while smiling, "Wu Yin, I'm not afraid to tell you that if Mad Southern Yi dares to compete with me in Spellmaster, I can suppress him with a flip of my hand." Wu Yin was speechless at that moment. All she could do was scoff. The reason why he mentioned Mad Southern Yi to attack Master Shigu earlier was that he did not like him. In reality, even he did not believe that Mad Southern Yi was a genius who cultivated both Spellmaster and martial arts dual cultivator. After all, Master Shigu was right. Yu Lian, who was in the crowd, could not help but look at Yuan Chitai when she saw the duo arguing. "Master Yuan, who exactly is this Mad Southern Yi? Why is everyone reacting like this?" That's right. Gigi was curious too. Before Yuan Chitai could speak, Deng Chan, who was standing aside, said while looking at them in disdain, "You guys aren't from the spell master and ancient martial arts world. You guys won't understand even if I tell you." "How would we understand if you don't tell us?" Yu Lian retorted. Seeing that the duo was going to argue, Yuan Chitai spoke with respect on his face. "Mad Southern Yi, all you guys need to know is that he's a genius powerhouse that's hard to come by in China in 100 years. It's not an exaggeration to say that he's the number one in China's ancient martial arts world." "Master Yuan, are you his match?" Yu Lian's eyes lit up while her face was filled with gossip. After what happened earlier, her worldview was reconstructed again. She knew that there were many extraordinary people in this world. How powerful was this Mad Southern Yi, who was known as the number one in China's ancient martial arts world? Yuan Chitai shook his head, lightly facing her question. He was in between tears and laughter. "How can I be his match? I wouldn't dare to fight someone like that. Even you're not his match?" Yu Lian exclaimed while shock filled her beautiful eyes. One must know that they had seen Yuan Chitai's technique earlier. It was not an exaggeration to describe him as a god. However, Mad Southern Yi was more powerful than him. "Humph," Deng Chan said, rather annoyed. "Master, Mad Southern Yi is from the ancient martial arts world, while you're from the spell world. How can you compare them?" Master Shigu is right. If Mad Southern Yi dares to compete with you in spells, he definitely won't be your match. "Silly girl," Yuan Chitai said in between tears and laughter. "No matter if it's the ancient martial arts world or the spell world, they're all the same. The goal is to break the human body's shackles and become more powerful. All you need to know is that I, your master, won't be Mad Southern Yi's match if we fight." Deng Chan said nothing while feeling upset. Yu Yin blinked and said softly, "Mad Southern Yi, Mad Southern. His name alone is destined to be a hero. No wonder he's the #1 in the ancient martial arts world." She noticed that Yulei was absent-minded as she was thinking. He seemed to be thinking about something, so she could not help but pat him. "What are you thinking about, brother?" "I'm thinking about Sir Yi. If I held him back earlier, perhaps he wouldn't have," Yulei said while feeling sorry for her. "Why are you mentioning him again?" Yu Yin's expression turned grim. "I told you that he's dead. His death has nothing to do with us. If you have the time, why don't you pay attention to the powerhouses in the world? For example, that Mad Southern Yi. P.S. Today's update for the 3rd chapter has been completed. I'll continue tomorrow. Thank you for your support. This book has been banned for 6 chapters this time. It has been edited countless times, and it hasn't been released yet. Therefore, the chapters will repeat, but the content won't." Chapter 429. Just when Yu Yin was mumbling Mad Southern Ye's name, Master Shigu looked at the people in a condescending manner from the altar. Master Shigu, who was on the heaven altar, looked at the people in a condescending manner. He then looked at Wu Yin from Lingnan's Wu family and smirked in disdain. "Wu Yin, I'll give you a chance since you don't like me. Come on up. Let's fight if you want. Do you really think I'm scared of you?" Wu Yin snorted coldly. With a wave of her sleeve, she leaped over 200 or 300 steps like a gust of wind and finally landed on the Temple of Heaven. The Wu clan of Lingnan and Master Shigu had always held grudges against each other. The reason was because someone from the Wu clan had died many years ago. In the end, Shigu dug the dead body that had been buried secretly and refined it into a walking corpse. The two families had been fighting for years, but Master Shigu had always had the upper hand. Wu Yin had been training hard for years, so he wanted to avenge himself today. The people could not help but cheer when they saw him leaping 30 feet into the air and leaping 100 steps. They stared deadly at him. He's walking as if he's light and leaping in the air. TSK, it seems like Wu Yin has stepped into illuminating God too. That must be the case. No wonder he changed his attitude from before and went against Master Shigu publicly. Even Zhang Xianqing of Dragon Tiger Mountain, who was standing aside, secretly nodded. To spell masters, one would always be an ant if one did not step into illuminating God. Wu Yin, I can't believe you've stepped into illuminating God too. Master Shigu's smile froze as shock flashed through his eyes. Shigu, I bet you didn't expect this, did you? It's all thanks to you. Don't worry, I'll pay you back for all the humiliation you've brought to the Wu family in the past. Wu Yin smirked and performed hand seals with both hands. As the people watched in shock, his clothes fluttered even though there was no wind, as if he was bathing in a strong wind. Many spell masters' pupils shrunk intensely. The reason being they saw black energy gathering toward Wu Yin. It was a murderous aura. It was colorless and shapeless because his clothes were fluttering in the air. Bang! A compass appeared in Wu Yan's hand. She stomped her foot, and a muffled, thunderous sound came from the depths of her throat. Then, she spouted a mouthful of white gas at the compass. The loud sound startled everyone. Ferocious aura gathered on the compass in his hand. The black and white yin-yang fishes on the compass shook intensely as if they were alive. At the same time, 8 black threads shot out of the 8 divinatory positions on the compass. The threads attacked Master Shigu like a spider web. This is a real magic tool. Everyone was shocked speechless as they stared at the compass in Wu Yan's hand. Yu Yin and her sister, as well as Zhizhi, widened their eyes as if they had discovered a new continent. They had never seen such a scene before, and they were utterly shocked. Even Yuan Qitai's expression froze. This is the Southern Ridge's Wu family's heirloom, the evil gathering plate? I didn't expect Wu Yin to bring it out. Rumor had it that the Southern Ridge's Wu family had a compass that could gather murderous aura. The compass was a killing tool that could be used to activate the formation on the compass to fight the enemy. Wu Yin, I can't believe you brought the evil gathering plate with you. Master Shigu squinted and subsequently smiled in disdain. But so what? It's a fact that your cultivation base is lower than mine. You can only unleash 30% of the evil gathering plate's power. Moreover, you're not the only one with a magic tool. A black bell appeared in his hand all of a sudden as soon as he was done speaking. A black bell suddenly appeared in his hand. It was about the size of a palm, and there were talismans stuck on it. It emitted a heavy aura. Wu Yin, I'll let you know today that you can't do it. Master Shigu charged forward as soon as he said that. Master Shigu did not retreat when faced with the 8 threads on Wu Yan's compass. Instead, he charged forward and the black bell in his hand rang. An ear-piercing sound came out as if there was a devil roaring in it. At the same time, a long black snake shot out of the bell and charged at Wu Yan. Bang! The moment the black snake collided with the 8 thin threads, the entire ground shook violently. After everyone managed to stabilize themselves with great difficulty, they saw that Wu Yin had retreated a few steps with the compass in her hand and spat out a mouthful of blood. Meanwhile, not only was Master Shigu fine, but he continued charging at Wu Yin. Meanwhile, the black bell in his hand expanded a few times. Eventually, it flew out of his hand like a bronze bell and covered Wu Yin directly. Bang! Wu Yin could not dodge in time at all. She was covered by the bronze bell that the bell had turned into. The battle ended just like that. Many people were dumbstruck. Never had they thought that Wu Yin would not be Master Shigu's match, even though they were both illuminating god powerhouses and possessed magic tools. God! Gigi looked at Master Shigu blankly. Yu Yin and Yu Lei did not look any better. The earlier scene had changed their view of the world again. Shigu wins this battle. Dragon Tiger Mountains, Zhang Xianqing declared. He looked like he was in deep thought after taking a good look at the bronze bell. Subsequently, he shook his head lightly and said, "The outcome has been decided. Shigu, let Wu Yin out." Master Shigu performed a hand seal with both hands, and the bronze bell shrunk in the air. Eventually, it turned into the black bell from before and was put away in his sleeve. He looked at Wu Yin again. At that moment, his face was pale as if he had experienced something terrifying. "So, Wu Yin, now you know that you're no match for me, don't you? It's not an exaggeration to say that I'm the #1 in the spell world of Tiannan. Am I right?" Master Shigu was proud of himself. Wu Yin forced a smile. "Shigu, you've hidden it well. Even if Mad Southern Yi really knows spells, he's no match for you. I admit defeat this time. It's really a divine technique," Yu Yin said while biting her lip. Even the #1 in the ancient martial arts world that Master Yuan mentioned, Mad Southern Yi, can't fight such a divine technique. Can he? Seems like spells are more powerful. In the underground current under the sinkhole, a black stone appeared in Yi Chen's hand. A black stone the size of an egg appeared in Yi Chen's hand. There was a golden flame flickering in it. The flame was the size of a fingernail, and it looked like it could be extinguished at any time. It's really the golden fire crystal. Moreover, it seems like it's heavenly fire. I've gained a lot from this trip. Although he was calm, he could not help but feel excited at that moment. There were many flames in this world. Ordinary flames were used for cooking. There were earth fire, true fire, spiritual fire, and extraordinary fire above that. For those flames to burn for thousands of years, they would need something to burn, which was an energy source. They would be destroyed as time passed. However, there was a type of flame that never burned. That was heavenly fire. Heavenly fire was born from the heavens. It was the tinder of all the flames in the world. It was also the purest flame. No matter if it was true fire, ordinary fire, or spiritual fire, they were all born from it. But why is the golden fire crystal in his body? Yichun frowned slightly as he looked at the corpse before him. Subsequently, he checked his body again and found a green jade tablet and a yellowed silk scroll from his pouch. He also found an ancient painting on the cattail hassock. Chapter 430. Since the silk scroll was kept close to him, it did not rot. Yichun opened it and realized that it was written in traditional Chinese characters. The gist of it was, "My name is Lin Feng. I'm from the Yinyang City's Lin family. My mother passed away when I was born, so I was treated as an unlucky person. Later on, I was found to have no martial vein, so my family despised me. However, I obtained a cultivation method by chance when I was 16. It allowed me to strengthen myself by devouring flames. Therefore, I left my family and traveled the world. I've devoured no less than 20 types of flames throughout the 10 years. I'm only one step away from origin energy. When I was traveling this place, I noticed that was unusually excited about the sinkhole. I suspected that there was a spiritual fire under the sinkhole. I found the spiritual fire after entering the sinkhole after much effort. Moreover, this spiritual fire is of a higher level than the ones I devoured before. It's even more dangerous. I'm a cripple in my family. I was shocked and humiliated. I want to become more powerful and break through to origin energy to take back what I've lost. Therefore, I decided to devour this spiritual fire after much consideration. I never thought that the spiritual fire would devour my cultivation base and vitality as soon as it entered my stomach. Eventually, I could only seal the spiritual fire with my remaining cultivation base. The word seal disappeared from the silk scroll. Yi Chen's expression changed a few times. Eventually, he speculated, it seems like although he sealed the golden fire crystal, he couldn't save his life. The golden fire crystal must have devoured all of his vitality. That must be the reason why he looks so old. As for the horror that he mentioned, it must be the fire crow from before. It was considered loyal. Its master had been dead for so many years, but it still protected its body well. Yi Chen looked at the green jade token in his hand and noticed that the word Lin was carved on it. It should be the person's proof of identity. Meanwhile, there was an ordinary-looking young man in his 20s on the ancient painting. It must be the person's self-portrait. How dare a mere mortal try to devour the heavenly fire? He shook his head lightly, not knowing whether to laugh or cry at the person's bold idea. Since it was the heavenly fire, there was nothing it could not devour, let alone cultivation base and vitality. If not for the jade bed that the person had prepared beforehand, his entire body might have been devoured by the heavenly fire. But where did he come from? What is the martial vein you speak of? He frowned and thought for a while, then put the identity token and the portrait into his storage ring. My initial assumption was that there might be fire essence here, but I didn't expect it to be the golden fire crystal of a higher level. In this case, I'm even more confident in establishing a divine Tao foundation. I can also use the golden fire crystal to cultivate a divine power, but if I want to break through to the foundation layer, I will have to swallow the golden fire crystal like Lin foam. If the celestial fire causes a backlash, even though I won't end up like Lin foam, I'm afraid that all the effort I've put into practicing cultivation will be wasted. Yi Chen's expression kept changing. Eventually, he shook his head lightly and said, "The path of cultivation has always been about destiny. When did I become so timid and worried about personal gains and losses? At most, I'll fail to break through and my cultivation base will be devoured by the heavenly fire. At least, I still have my physical strength. However, if I manage to establish a divine Tao foundation, my future will be smooth. My techniques will skyrocket, and nobody in the entire world will be a threat to me." Yi Chen stopped hesitating after making up his mind. He got up and walked out of the cave abode. He lifted his arm to set up a barrier and moved Lin Feng's body aside with a wave. He sat on the jade bed with his legs crossed and took out 5 bottles of qi cultivation pills from his storage ring. He opened his mouth and swallowed the golden fire crystal and 3 qi cultivation pills without hesitation. As soon as the golden fire crystal entered his stomach, it turned into a golden flame the size of a pigeon's egg. Almost at that moment, a terrifying, devouring power came from the golden flame. The devouring power tore Yi Chen's dantian, organs, and organs apart. It was like a pile of lime being thrown into a basin of water. Meanwhile, the spiritual power that the 3 qi cultivation pills turned into was devoured by the devouring power on the golden flame. That was not all. The devouring power devoured the spiritual power in Yi Chen's dantian instead. Sensing the change coming from his stomach, Yi Chen grunted and swallowed 3 qi cultivation pills immediately. At the same time, he circulated the emperor's scripture quickly. Bang! The golden flame in his body grew. It grew from the size of a pigeon's egg to the size of a chicken within the span of a few breaths. It looked like a scorching sun. Meanwhile, countless golden flames were coming out of Yi Chen's body, burning his clothes. Shenangjia, Shenong altar. After Wu Yin from the Lingnan Wu family was defeated, Master Shigu looked at the people with his arms behind his back. He was getting more and more arrogant. Is there anyone else who's willing to fight me? Wherever his gaze passed, many people lowered their heads, not daring to look him in the eye. After all, Wu Yin, who was also in the spirit realm, had been defeated by him with the help of a celestial device. Most people were no match for him. Master Shegu was getting more and more proud as he watched their reactions. However, his eyes looked rather grim. In the entire Tiannan, people only knew about Tiannan's #1, Mad Southern Yi. However, they had no idea that Master Shigu's spells were also godly. Why? He, Mad Southern Yi, was just an ordinary man with brute force? How could he stand above him and be the #1 in Tiannan? His eyes were getting more and more ferocious as he thought to this point. I'm going to make a name for myself with the Longmen Convention today. I'm going to let the world know that Tiannan doesn't only have Mad Southern Yi, but there's also me, Master Shigu. I'm even more powerful than Mad Southern Yi. If I can get into the top 3 in the Longmen Convention, I'm confident that I can break through to Origin Energy after reading the cultivation books in Dragon Tiger Mountain. By then, what's Mad Southern Yi? I'm going to destroy his legend. At the same time, Yuan Chi Tai, who was in the crowd, looked at the few people next to him and said softly, "Guys, what are you waiting for? We, the 4 great sects of tomb raiding, have already attracted the attention of others. If we don't do anything, we might expose the heavenly tomb." At this point, he looked at the blind old man beside him. "Sidu Jin, I'll deal with Rotten Bones first before issuing a challenge to you. It's time for your Luo Jin branch to return the mountain-measuring ruler of the Banshan branch to us." His voice fell. He took a step forward and was about to enter the arena. Right at this moment, an extremely violent sound of wind and thunder resounded from afar, and it was like a bolt from the blue that caused everyone to be instantly stunned. "Look, there's someone in the sky!" Someone cried out in surprise. Everyone looked up and saw a huge gray figure rushing towards them from the horizon. Within a few breaths, the figure had completely entered everyone's line of sight. There's really someone, and he's carrying something. It's a coffin. He's carrying a coffin. That coffin weighs at least a few hundred pounds, right? Oh my God, is he even human? You can fly while carrying a coffin? Everyone's eyes were blank as they watched the person flying closer to them quietly. Meanwhile, Yulian covered her mouth tightly with disbelief written all over her face. Is that a real god? Zhang Xianqing from Dragon Tiger Mountain frowned slightly as he looked at the silhouette in the sky. Although they were hundreds of meters apart, he could still sense the majestic aura and killing intent from the person. He secretly inhaled sharply and said while frowning, "Such powerful killing intent. Shin Tiannan, you're finally here, but why are you carrying a coffin?" Chapter 431. In the sky above the Shenong altar, an old man in plain clothes walked in the air while carrying a gigantic yellow coffin in one hand. He had white hair and wrinkles all over his face. He looked like an old man with one foot in the grave. However, his eyes were like lightning, and his aura was majestic. He stared coldly at the people beneath him, not hiding the intense killing intent on his body at all. The people felt like a mountain was falling, and they were shocked. The man and the coffin in the air gave them an unknown pressure. Yulei and the rest almost knelt onto the ground. They were terrified. At this point, no matter how ignorant they were, they knew the old man in the sky was a powerful figure. Even Yulian, who had always been prideful, dared not make a sound at the moment, as she was afraid that the old man would vent his anger on her. It's Shun Tiannan, the Hong Kong Southern Sect's leader. Someone inhaled sharply and looked shocked. Clearly, he recognized him. His voice was neither loud nor soft, but everyone heard him clearly. There was an uproar at that moment, and many people's expressions changed. Shun Tiannan. Those 3 names represented too many things. The Hong Kong Southern Sect's leader, the legend of the spell world, the only person who was as famous as Celestial Master Zhang of Dragon Tiger Mountain, the champion of the Longmen Convention for 5 consecutive years, the person who is the closest to origin energy in the spell world in China. I heard that Master Shen looks like he's only 60 years old. How did he become like this? He looks like an old man in his 90s. Most importantly, why did he come to the Longmen convention with a coffin? Did he prepare it for himself or for someone else? He's not friendly. Thud. Facing the people's shock, Shun Tianen walked in the air and landed on the altar directly. The coffin landed hard on the ground, causing the ground to shake and crack. Many people were secretly shocked. The force alone was no less than 500 kilograms. Master Shiegu, who was the closest to him, had goosebumps all over his body. He was not satisfied with the pride he had earlier. There was only fear in his heart now. Now he finally understood the difference between him and Shen Tianen. Thinking of this, he secretly swallowed a mouthful of saliva and squeezed out a flattering smile on his face. Master Shun, I've finally waited for you to come. Get out of here, Shen Tianen shouted angrily before he was done speaking. Just as one sound, Master Shiegu felt a terrifying power coming from the sky. He was thrown thousands of meters away from the altar, and his face turned pale. He looked at Shen Tianen with fear in his eyes when he finally regained his footing. He exclaimed, This is the verbal compliance law. As soon as these words came out, the entire place became deathly silent. The law was enforced with his words. It could be said that this was the realm that all spell masters and even everyone in the world of spells pursued. As the name suggested, the moment the words left their mouths, the spells would follow. They had truly gained enlightenment and understood the true essence of the Tao. Yuan Shitai's expression changed, but he subsequently forced a smile. That's great. Shen Tianen, you're indeed the #1 in Hong Kong's spell world. Now, even Zhang Xianxing from Dragon Tiger Mountain could not sit still anymore. He looked at Shen Tianen in shock and said, Brother Shun, how did you become like this? Also, why did you bring the coffin here? His ability was on par with Shen Tianan's in the past. However, he knew that he was no match for Shen Tianen now, that Shen Tianen had comprehended the verbal compliance law. Shen Tianen said nothing as he glanced at the people below with an extremely grim expression. Nobody dared to look him in the eye wherever he looked, including Yuan Shitai and the rest. That was Shen Tianen. Zhang Xuanqing's expression turned rather grim, seeing that he was ignored. Brother Shun, please stand aside if you're here to watch the Longmen convention. Longmen convention? Shen Tianen grinned and spoke in an extremely husky voice. There's no need for it to continue today. I'm only here to kill someone. His tone was very calm, as if he was narrating a very ordinary matter. However, it revealed an irrefutable and strong killing intent. Everyone felt chills run down their spines as soon as he was done speaking. Everyone present felt a chill run down their spines, and they lowered their heads once more. Terror filled their hearts, and they wondered who exactly he wanted to kill. You're going to kill someone? The smile on Zhang Xuanqing's face froze slowly. He said in his deep voice, Brother Shun, I'm the host of the Longmen convention today. Are you saying that you're going to kill someone? That's not funny at all. The spell world was different from the ancient martial arts world. They did not care about life and death when they fought. After all, there were fewer people in the spell world than in the ancient martial arts world. Moreover, Dragon Tiger Mountain was the spell world's sacred ground. Nobody was allowed to break the rules. My son was killed, Shen Tianen said expressionlessly. What? Zhang Xuanqing's expression changed. Your son, Shen Xingye, is dead? Gasp. Hearing this, the crowd below burst into an uproar. Shen Tianan's son was killed. If they had not heard it with their own ears, they would not have believed it even if they were beaten to death. Putting aside how terrifying Shen Tianen was, just the fact that his son, Shen Xingye, was a genius who had entered illuminating God in his 20s, could be killed. Even if Shen Xingye was a piece of trash, nobody dared to kill him, right? It was because his father was Shen Tianen, who was famous in China's spell world. Yuan Shitai, who was among the crowd, came to a realization. He said, I see. No wonder Shen Tianen looks so old. No wonder he wore white and came with a coffin. Yulian, who was standing next to him, lifted her head to look at Shun Tianan in slight fear. She could not help but ask, Master Yuan, is that person powerful? Deng Chan grinned coldly. He's a legend in the spell world. It's not an exaggeration to say that he's a god. Do you think he's powerful? If he were to fight, apart from Celestial Master Zhang, nobody here would be able to live. Yu Yin's face turned pale as soon as she said that. She stammered as she said, I can't believe such a powerful person dared to kill his son. Is he crazy? Yuan Chitai sighed softly. Rumor has it that Shan Tianan got his son when he was old. He doted on his only son and placed all his hopes on him. Now that his only son is dead, how can he not go crazy? Master, Shun Xingye is an illuminating god powerhouse. I can't believe someone killed him. Who exactly is it? Deng Chan asked in confusion. Yuan Chitai shook his head lightly and said, no matter who he is, he's in great trouble. Unless he's a legendary origin energy powerhouse, he'll definitely die. Meanwhile, there had never been an origin energy powerhouse in China for hundreds of years. Which bastard killed his son and lured him here? I hope he won't drag us into this. Yu Yin bit her lip. She was furious. On the heaven altar, Zhang Xuanqing's expression changed. He almost thought he heard it wrong. However, Shun Tianan's expression did not seem to be fake. He took a deep breath in and said, who killed him? China was going to change. P.S. Chapter 3. Today's update is complete. Thank you for your support. Chapter 432. Beneath the sinkhole, golden flames filled the entire underground river. As the flames spread, the temperature in the underground river rose gradually. The water in the entire underground river was boiling as if there were ferocious beasts fighting in it. Eventually, the water in the underground river evaporated completely, revealing the bumpy river bottom. White mist hovered in midair. It was red like fire, as if it was a burning cloud. Even the space seemed to be slightly distorted. Endless flames gathered in one place from top to bottom, as if they were worshipping. If not for the thickness of the surrounding stone walls and the incomparably sturdy soil layer that had been deposited over the years, the entire sinkhole would probably have collapsed. Meanwhile, there was an empty space in the middle of the sea of flames. There were no flames at all, as if the flames around had a spirit of their own. A skinny silhouette sat in the middle of the empty space with his legs crossed. He was naked like an old monk in meditation. If one were to look closer, one would notice that golden flames were seeping out of every pore on his skin. The young man did not care about that at all. He continued sitting with his legs crossed, as if he was lonely. His eyes were closed, and the endless flames around him were getting more and more intense as he breathed through his nose and mouth. Nobody knew how long had passed. The young man let out a muffled growl. His tightly shut eyes finally showed signs of loosening at that moment. Subsequently, he opened them slowly. I've finally built my foundation. Yichin got up and stretched his stiff bones. He patted the dust on his body and revealed a smile on his face. Divine Tao Base. Great. The golden fire crystal didn't disappoint me. The sea of qi in his dantian was completely liquefied. It was the sign of spiritual power being liquefied. It was also the sign of foundation building. The liquid should not be underestimated. Even a drop of it contained energy that a spirit assembly powerhouse could not compare to. I've integrated the golden fire crystal now, but there's still some heavenly fire energy left in it. It'll be a waste if I let it go. I can use it to refine a divine power. Yichin thought to himself as he rubbed his chin. The so-called divine power was something that broke a regular person's understanding. For example, ancient martial artists could tear tigers apart leopards and lift 500-kilogram cauldrons. However, they could not lift themselves up by grabbing their own heads. Naturally, that was impossible in the world of science. Divine abilities were meant to defy science. My body is already invincible in the current world. With the current conditions, there is no room for improvement. But I can consider refining a fire elemental technique, such as the golden eyes of the three-eyed gods in the deity realm. Yichin said thoughtfully. When he was in the immortal dimension, He ruled over 100 races, and the members of the three-eyed race possessed the innate divine ability of scorching golden eyes. They relied on a pair of golden eyes to illuminate the world, and nothing could escape the gaze of the golden eyes. It was even to the extent that they could emit a scorching golden light that restrained all evil. This is it. Although I can't restore the real golden pupils of fury, I can use the power of the heavenly fire to imitate a counterfeit version of the golden pupils of fury. This supernatural power can absorb any kind of fire. When it is mastered, it can burn the sky with a single glance. After making up his mind, Yi Chun realized that his clothes had long been burned by the heavenly fire. He could not help but walk to the side and take off the old man's robe and put on himself. Then he sat down cross-legged and began to cultivate the golden pupil flame. Shenangjia was dead silent. Zhang Xianqing of Dragon Tiger Mountain was shocked. People only knew that Shun Tianen doted on his only son, Shun Xingye. However, they had no idea that Shun Tianen doted on Shun Xingye to the extent that he indulged him. The reason was that Shun Tianen was under the tutelage of the southern sect's leader in Daoyuan at that time. Shun Tianen had displayed a monstrous talent in cultivation, and in Daoyuan favored him a lot. And Daoyuan was the master of Hong Kong's spell world back then. Although his spells were unparalleled, he was lustful. He had many women, and those women were 40 to 50 years younger than him. However, Shun Tianen had an affair with his master's woman and impregnated her only son. After the scandal was exposed, the pregnant woman was punished, but she refused to say anything about Shun Tianen. Shun Tianen rushed back and took the initiative to admit it. He was the enemy of the entire southern sect in Hong Kong, especially in Daoyuan. However, the result shocked everyone. Shun Tianan's disciple had surpassed his master and killed his master. As in Daoyuan died, the entire southern sect in Hong Kong was purged. Meanwhile, the woman who had slept with Shun Tianen passed away because she could not bear the torture. Shun Xingye was pregnant with her only son back then. Shun Tianen felt guilty that his lover would rather die than confess to him. Naturally, the guilt was transferred to Shun Xingye. Naturally, it was a secret. Most people in the world who knew about it were dead. Zhang Xianqing was one of the people who knew about it. That was the reason why he was shocked when he heard that Shun Xingye was dead. Shun Tianen could betray his master and kill his ancestors for a woman. Was there anything that he would not do for his son now? Everyone present could not help but perk up after hearing Zhang Xuanqing's question. They secretly pricked up their ears, including Yu Yin and the rest. Shun Tianen chuckled in a creepy manner. The person who killed my son is the #1 in China's ancient martial arts world, Mad Southern Yi. The place fell into dead silence as soon as he said that. The expressions on everyone's faces stiffened in unison. Their eyes widened, and a tempestuous storm surged in their hearts. Before this, they had wondered who would dare to kill Shun Xingye despite being condemned by the world. They had thought of many people, but they had never thought that it would be Mad Southern Yi. One must know that Mad Southern Yi was the #1 in China's ancient martial arts world. Why would an ancient martial artist from this mainland come to Hong Kong to kill Shun Xingye? What? It's him. Yuan Shitai and the rest who were in the crowd could not help but be shocked. Yu Yin could not help but exclaim, Is it Mad Southern Yi who killed his son? She was secretly admiring Mad Southern Yi earlier, but Mad Southern Yi became a murderer in the next second. She had no idea what to say now. Yuan Shitai sighed softly. Things are getting out of hand now. Master Yuan, is Mad Southern Yi Shun Tianan's match? Yu Yin asked by instinct. She was more concerned about that. Perhaps it was because of the first impression, but deep down, she was more inclined to Mad Southern Yi. As soon as that was said, Yu Lei, Deng Chan, and the rest could not help but look at Yuan Shitai. Yuan Shitai shook his head lightly. Theoretically, Mad Southern Yi has a higher chance of winning. However, now that Shun Tianen has mastered the verbal compliance law, coupled with the pain of losing his son, it's hard to say what will happen if they fight. In reality, there was something that he did not mention. There was an unwritten rule in the cultivation world whereby a mystic spell master would be more powerful than an ancient martial artist on the same level. This was because a mystic spell master could perform spells and use magic tools. Huh. Then, isn't Mad Southern Yi dead? Yu Yin's face turned pale, and her heart was in a mess at the moment. On the heaven altar, Zhang Xianxing inhaled sharply and looked at Shun Tiannan in shock. Brother Shun, are you sure that Mad Southern Yi killed Xingye? This isn't a joke. You have to think twice. One was the number one in the ancient martial arts world, while the other was the number one in the spell world in Hong Kong. Hong Kong was the place where spells were the most popular. Both of them were sworn enemies. No matter who lived or died, it would stir up a huge commotion in China. He spoke again as he spoke to this point. Brother Shun, I'm not trying to discourage you, but Mad Southern Ye's power isn't as simple as you think. This person has killed a couple of half-step martial venerables. His ability should be on the level of a martial venerable. Yo, really? What if I are included? A calm voice came from far away, just when he was done speaking. Chapter 433. Hearing the sudden voice, everyone could not help but look over by instinct. Everyone present could not help but look over instinctively. They saw a small black appear on the horizon. In the blink of an eye, the black that was very close to them. A black-robed old man walked through the air with his hands clasped behind his back. His gaze was like lightning, and as he moved forward, an incomparably intense sonic boom rang out. Everyone felt their eardrums ringing, and their faces were filled with shock. What if Lei Feihu are included? The man was still 100 meters away when he said that. However, he appeared above everyone as soon as he said that. His speed was comparable to the speed of light. This, Yu Yin and the rest were stunned. Their hearts could not take it anymore. Another powerhouse was here. Moreover, it seemed like he was no weaker than Shun Tiannan. Hong Kong's Thunder King, Lei Feihu. Yuan Chitai inhaled sharply and stared at the old man in the sky with an extremely serious expression. Everyone's expression changed as soon as he said that. Hong Kong's Thunder King was one of the 4 powerhouses in China 50 years ago. He was invincible below martial venerable 50 years ago. His status in Hong Kong was no lower than Shun Tiannan's. Hong Kong's 2 dragons were here. The world was about to change. The same thought flashed through everyone's mind at the same time. Lei Feihu seemed to not have seen the people's shock. He landed on the altar directly and said while smiling, Celestial Master Zhang, it's been years. Zhang Xuanqing's expression kept changing. Thunder King, aren't you in closed-door cultivation all year round? Why are you here at the Longmen Convention today? Of course, I'm here to kill Mad Southern Yi. Lei Feihu laughed ferociously. Not only did this person kill Brother Shin's son, but he also killed my son. How can I not be here with such hatred? The crowd gasped as soon as that was said. Mad Southern Yi killed the Thunder King's son too? If they were shocked by the news of Shun Tiannan's son being killed by Mad Southern Yi, they almost fainted when they heard that Mad Southern Yi had also killed the Thunder King's son. He killed 2 overlords' sons in one go. How lawless and out of control. Now that the 2 overlords were here together, even if Mad Southern Yi was the ancient martial arts world number 1, it would be difficult for him to withstand the rage of the 2 overlords, right? The outcome has been decided. Yuan Chitai closed his eyes slightly. Shin Tiannan and Lei Feihu are working together. Mad Southern Yi will definitely die this time. China is going to change. This Mad Southern Yi is really something. He just had to kill someone else's sons. Moreover, he killed 2 of them at once. Isn't he courting death? Yu Yin said in disappointment. Now, even she did not have any hope for Mad Southern Yi. After hearing Lei Feihu's words, Zhang Xuanqing's hand that was holding the horsetail whisk trembled violently, but he couldn't say anything else. All he could feel was shock. At that moment, Shun Tiannan, who had been silent all this while, looked at him with a burning gaze. Celestial Master Zhang, let me ask you something. Are you going to stop the both of us from avenging our son? Lei Feihu also looked at him fiercely. Zhang Xuanqing's cultivation base was on par with Shun Tiannan's. If he stood on Mad Southern Ye's side, the outcome would be unpredictable. Forget it. This is Mad Southern Ye's fault. Although I want to resolve this, there's nothing I can do. Zhang Xianxing sighed softly as he met the duo's gaze. His Dragon Tiger Mountain had nothing to do with Mad Southern Yi. There was no need for him to risk his life to face the wrath of the two powerhouses. Moreover, the revenge of his son was irreconcilable. It was only right and proper. That's great. A smile appeared on Shun Tiannan's grim face. Subsequently, he turned around and looked at the crowd in a condescending manner. Everyone, I'm sure you guys know about the grudge between the both of us and Mad Southern Yi. I won't drag innocent people into this. Don't worry. The people could not help but secretly sigh in relief upon hearing that. They were afraid that Shun Tianan and Lei Feihu would vent their anger on them. Shen Tianan changed the topic and said, "Before coming here, I've received reliable news that Mad Southern Yi is also at the Longmen Convention. To be exact, he's at Shenanjia. However, I haven't seen Mad Southern Yi yet. Therefore, if anyone has seen Mad Southern Yi, please tell me where he is. I'll reward you handsomely." The Heavenly Palace received the news almost as soon as Yi Chun headed to Shenanjia. They then sent the news to Shun Tianan. Apart from that, they arranged spies at all the exits at the foot of Shenanjia Mountain to monitor Yi Chen's every move. However, the people from the Heavenly Palace witnessed Yi Chun entering Shenanjia with their own eyes. He had never left, so he must be in Shenanjia. That was why Shen Tianan asked that. That's right. If anyone tells me where he is, I'll reward you handsomely too. Lei Feihu said. Passion flashed through the people's eyes when they heard that. It was an opportunity to befriend the two overlords. However, what frustrated them was that they did not even know what Mad Southern Yi looked like. So how would they know where he was? Master Yuan, have you seen Mad Southern Yi before? Yu Yan, who was among the crowd, was curious too. Yuan Shitai could not help but smile when he heard that. I'd like to witness Mad Southern Yi's glory with my own eyes too. However, I've only heard of him, but I've never seen him. The few people standing next to him nodded lightly too. Then, this Mad Southern Yi is rather mysterious. Yu Yan took a good look at the people around, suspicion filling her eyes. She seemed to be looking for Mad Southern Yi. Yulei and Gigi were curious too. At that moment, Master Shigu, who was among the crowd, spoke. Master Shun, Thunder King, nobody seems to know what Mad Southern Yi looks like. I wonder if you have a photo of him. Show it to us. Perhaps we've seen him before. Shen Tianan nodded lightly and took out an iPad. He found a photo and showed it to the crowd. This is Mad Southern Yi. The people looked rather disappointed when they saw it. Initially, they thought Mad Southern Yi, the #1 in China's ancient martial arts world, will be the best no matter whether it was his charisma or his charisma. Never had they thought that he only had a mediocre appearance. It seemed like the rumors about Mad Southern Yi were exaggerated. Many of them secretly shook their heads. However, they did not notice that some of them were stunned when they saw the photo. Then, disbelief appeared on their faces. Gigi, who was among the crowd, seemed to have seen something terrifying. She covered her mouth and said softly, Isn't that Brother Yi? At that moment, Yu Yin, Yulei, Yuan Shitai, and Deng Chan were completely dumbstruck. The reason being the photo in Shun Tiannan's hand looked exactly the same as Yi Chun, including his nose, mouth, and eyes. Even his gaze seemed to be made from the same mold. How is that possible? Yu Yin's pretty face was blank. How could he be Mad Southern Yi? That's impossible. Shen Tianan must have gotten the wrong photo. Yes, that must be it. She cannot be blamed for being unable to accept it. The Mad Southern Yi that she imagined and the Yi Chun she knew were too different. It was not an exaggeration to say that they were two different people. Sir Yi is Mad Southern Yi? Yulei gulped, finding it hard to accept. Deng Chan's pretty face changed when she saw Yi Chen's photo. She could not help but look at Yuan Shitai next to her. Grandpa, Yuan Shitai said nothing. Although he had lived for most of his life and thought that he was calm and steady, his heart was racing at that moment. The blind old man standing next to him said, What's wrong, old Yuan? Yuan Chitai's lips quivered. Just when he was going to speak, he heard an extremely excited voice. Master Shun, I've seen this man before. Chapter 434. The people looked toward the direction of the voice. They saw Master Shigu walking out of the crowd. He could not hide the excitement on his face. Shigu, have you really seen Mad Southern you before? If you're telling the truth, I promise to teach you everything I know about spells. You must know that my spells aren't any weaker than the ones from Dragon Tiger Mountain. Shintian Nand was elated. Master Shigu was over the moon. He said while clasping his fists, Master Shun, are you sure you got the right photo? He was still rather cautious. His reaction was just as exaggerated as Yu Lian and the rest when he saw Yi Chen's photo. His first thought was that Shen Tianan had gotten the wrong photo. Shen Tianan frowned, seeming to be upset. It's definitely the right photo. That's right, Master Shigu said immediately, seeming to sense his impatience. I've seen this person on my way here. He was with 2 men and 2 ladies. As soon as he said that, Yu Lian and the rest could not help but turn pale. They squeezed to the back by instinct, afraid that they would be recognized because the 2 men and 2 women that Rotten Bone mentioned were them. However, Shigu found them in the crowd. He pointed and said, Master Shun, it's these 3 people. They're with Mad Southern Yi. Everyone could not help but have their eyes on Yu Lian and the rest as soon as he said that. Yu Lian's face turned pale, and she denied immediately. No, you're lying. We don't know this person at all. This was going to cost him his life. How would she dare to admit it? Shen Tianan glanced at the 3 of them with a grim expression. He suspected that Shigu was lying when he noticed that they were ordinary people with no cultivation base. Meanwhile, Gigi said by instinct in a panic, That's right. We really don't know Brother Yi. The crowd gasped as soon as she was done speaking. Yu Lian and Yu Lei closed their eyes in despair one after another. Silly girl, you could have just said that you don't know him. Why did you mention Brother Yi? Great, now you've confessed without being pressed. Ha ha ha, Master Shigu said while laughing out loud. Did you hear that, Master Shin? They admitted it themselves. That proves that I'm not lying. It would not be an exaggeration to say that he was extremely excited. The 2 powerhouses had joined forces to kill Mad Southern Yi. However, Mad Southern Yi had disappeared at that moment. It meant that Mad Southern Yi was hiding because he was afraid of Shun Tianan and Lei Feihu. As soon as Shun Tianan and Lei Feihu found Mad Southern Yi and killed him, they would naturally fulfill their promise. Xiegu's skill in spells would improve again. From then on, he would be the true number 1 in Tianan. It would not be an exaggeration to describe it as killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Mad Southern Yi, oh Mad Southern Yi, you're courting death? A golden gleam shot out of Shen Tianan's eyes as soon as he heard that. He leaped from the heaven altar and walked to Yu Lian and the other 2 slowly. He said in his deep voice, 3 kids, tell me where Mad Southern Yi is. If you tell the truth, this old man will let you off. Yu Lian could not help but shudder as he approached her. She stammered, He's dead. She hated Yi Chun to death now. This bastard. Even in death, he still wants to implicate us. Shen Tianan scoffed. Since you guys aren't going to tell me where Mad Southern Yi is, don't blame me for being merciless. Mad Southern Yi is dead? How is that possible? To him, Yu Lian was lying. He stretched his arm out and formed a giant, mysterious chi handprint in the air. He grabbed Yu Lian directly. Yu Lei wanted to fight by instinct, but he was shocked to find out that he could not move his limbs at all. It was as if he was under the immobilization spell. Yi, you going to kill us? Yu Lian looked at the giant handprint blankly. She was in despair. Just when the giant handprint was about to touch Yu Lian, Yuan Chi Tai, who was standing aside, waved his arm and dissolved it. Although that was the case, he retreated a few steps back uncontrollably. Master, are you all right? Dang Chan held him up immediately. I'm fine. Yuan Chi Tai was secretly shocked by Shun Tianan's ability. He walked to Shun Tianan after waving and said with a soft sigh, Banshan's leader, Yuan Chi Tai, greets Master Shun. Banshan? Why? Are you stopping me? Shun Tianan smiled in anger. Disdain filled his face. I wouldn't dare. Yuan Chi Tai shook his head lightly and said while forcing a smile, Master Shun, I've seen Mad Southern Yi before. Not long ago, I can prove that what this girl said is true. Do you mean that Mad Southern Yi is really dead? Shin Tiannan's expression was turning grim. Mad Southern Yi was the #1 in China's ancient martial arts world. Who could kill him? Even when he was sparring with Lei Feihu, he had to rely on the demonic life reduction pill to have the confidence to fight him. Yuan Shitai said in his deep voice, I don't know if he's dead or not, but I saw Mad Southern Yi being devoured by the lava with my own eyes. Subsequently, he told them about Yi Chun going into the sinkhole. So he is really dead. The grudge between you and him has nothing to do with us. We're from the Fire Phoenix. You'll be going against the entire Fire Phoenix if you touch us. Yulei said, pretending to be calm. Fire Phoenix? What's that? Shin Tiannan smirked. A mere Fire Phoenix aside, I'd kill anyone from the Heavenly Palace even if they're standing before me. Since you guys said that Mad Southern Yi died in the lava, bring me there. I want to see him if he's alive, and I want to see his corpse if he's dead. He grabbed Yu Lian forcefully and glared at Yuan Shitai coldly. Yuan Shitai had no choice but to nod and lead the way. Lei Feihu and Zhang Xianxing followed behind him, and the rest of them followed at the very back of the group. When they arrived at the stone wall above the sinkhole, they realized that the lava had subsided. Although that was the case, the ground was scorching hot like a volcano. Meanwhile, the ground was scorched red. There was nothing else. Mad Southern Yi was really devoured by the lava. Shin Tiannan looked at the ground below with a grim expression. There was fear on his face. Even he would not be able to last long in such a high temperature. He would die if he encountered the lava. I'm not related to Mad Southern Yi, so there's no reason for me to lie to you. The reason why I helped this girl is because they're innocent, Yuan Shitai said in his deep voice. Yu Lian was afraid that Shun Tiannan would attack her. She suppressed the fear within her and told him everything that happened when they brought Yi Chun to Shenangjia. She could not care less about the military secrets now. After all, her life mattered. Moreover, to her, Yi Chun was the one who caused all of this. There was no need for her to cover for him. Yulei's lips moved a few times, but he did not stop her in the end. Shin Tiannan's expression could not stop changing after hearing that. He could not help but look at Lei Feihu next to him. Brother Lei, do you believe me? Most likely. Although Lei Feihu was unwilling to admit it, he nodded and said, I don't think those 3 juniors dare to lie to us. Moreover, the temperature here is extremely high. Even if Mad Southern Yi is the #1 in China's ancient martial arts world, he'll die if he really encounters the lava. Brother Shun, since Mad Southern Yi is dead, the grudge between you and him is over. Let's drop this. Zhang Xianxing from Dragon Tiger Mountain said with a soft sigh. The famous Mad Southern Yi died in the lava. What a tragedy. Mad Southern Yi is the only one in China throughout all these years. He might have become a martial venerable if he continued to grow. It's such a pity that he's dead now. What's there to feel pity about? To me, it's good that he died. That devil has killed too many people, and he's finally getting his retribution. Meanwhile, the people behind him could not help but secretly shake their heads. They began discussing. There were those who felt sorry, those who sympathized, those who gloated, and those who were excited. Master Shegu was over the moon. Now, I'm undoubtedly the #1 in Tiannan. Shin Tiannan seemed to be unwilling to give up. His face was filled with resentment. I was planning to eat his flesh and drink his blood after I killed him. Now that brat is lucky. Master Shun, since Mad Southern Yi is dead, it has nothing to do with us, right? Shouldn't you put me down now? Yu Lian, who was in his hand, said while shaking. Put you down? Shin Tiannan grinned ferociously. Sure, I'll put you down now. In the next second, he tossed Yu Lian to the sinkhole on the ground. Yuan Shitai and Zhang Xianxing could not stop him in time, even if they wanted to. No, I don't want to die. Yu Lian cried on the spot as fear filled her face. Never had she thought that Shun Tiannan would still want to kill her. Sister Yu Lian, Yulei, and Zhiji were stunned. The rest were shocked too. They did not expect Shin Tiannan to be so cruel. Mad Southern Yi killed my son. Since you guys are related to him, die. Die with my son. Shin Tiannan was hysterical. He grabbed Yulei and Zhiji again and was going to toss them into the sinkhole like before. Shen Tiannan, you're crossing the line. Zhang Xianqing was enraged. Just when he was going to attack, bang, a loud thud that sounded like a thunderclap came. Subsequently, the ground shook. The people looked shocked when they finally stabilized themselves. Even Shen Tiannan and Lei Feihu were no exception. What happened? Is that an earthquake? Look at the sinkhole. Someone screamed at that moment. The people looked immediately. The sinkhole that was unusually quiet earlier was shaking intensely as if it was going to collapse at any time. In the next second, a gigantic flaming dragon shot out of the sinkhole that looked like a giant chimney. The flaming dragon was approximately 10 meters in diameter and 20 meters tall. The gigantic flame almost dyed the entire place red. The people looked at it in horror. Someone inhaled sharply all of a sudden and said, "Look, there seems to be a person on the flaming dragon's head." P.S. I've posted 3 chapters in a row. It's a little slow. Sorry for the wait. Thank you for your support. Chapter 435. At the sinkhole in Shenangjia, a giant dragon that was consolidated from flames soared into the sky. Its thunderous dragon roar echoed between heaven and earth. There was an indescribable pressure in the roar. Everyone on the stone wall was shocked from the bottom of their hearts under such pressure. They were horrified, and some of them could not help but kneel on the spot while calling it a miracle. Look, there seems to be a person on the fire dragon's head. Everyone looked at the dragon's head while suppressing the fear in them. They could not help but be stunned in the next second. They saw a skinny silhouette on the gigantic dragon's head. There was a skinny silhouette faintly on the dragon's head. It was a young man in a Taoist robe. He had ordinary features, but he was standing on the dragon's head proudly with his arms behind his back at the moment. It was as if he was riding on the dragon to grab the moon. There was a terrifying pressure coming out of his body. The people shrieked and retreated when they looked at the person's eyes. Even Shen Tiannan, Lei Feihu, and Zhang Xianqing, the 3 spell masters, were no exception. They felt a burning pain in their eyes. The reason being they noticed there were 2 balls of gigantic golden flames in the young man's eyes. The golden flames were burning deep in his pupils, and they were like 2 miniature suns that shone in the sky. Nobody dared to look at them directly. At that moment, the entire heaven and earth fell into dead silence. It was so silent that it was as if the 1,000 people present did not exist. There was only a skinny silhouette standing on the dragon's head. At this moment, everyone's hearts were trembling. Who exactly was that person? How could he ride a fire dragon and fly up from the sinkhole? God! Gigi's face was blank as she subconsciously exclaimed. Usually, some powerhouses might laugh at her. However, nobody objected to it at that moment. They subconsciously thought that even if a person who possessed such pressure and technique was not a god, he was not much different from one. An origin energy powerhouse. The same thought flashed through Shen Tiannan, Lei Feihu, and Zhang Xuanqing's heads at the same time. They could not help but inhale sharply. Only the legendary origin energy realm martial artists were not afraid of fire. Led by Yuan Chi Tai, the 4 major sects of tomb raiding suddenly changed their expressions, and their emotions fluctuated nonstop. It seemed that Fakia lineage was right. There was indeed a big tomb under the sinkhole, and the person in front of them was obviously an expert from the tomb. Zhang Xianqing of Mount Longhu hurriedly bowed to the figure in the sky, cupped his fists, and said, "Junior Zhang Kadi of Mount Longhu greets Senior. We didn't know that Senior was living in seclusion here, so we didn't mean to disturb you. Please forgive us." He bowed down completely. "I'm Shen Tiannan from Hong Kong. Greetings, sir. I am Lei Feihu from Hong Kong. Nice to meet you." Shen Tiannan and Lei Feihu cupped their fists and bowed respectfully. Subsequently, everyone, including Yuan Chi Tai, knelt on one knee, although they couldn't see the young man's face clearly. But that was no longer important. Most importantly, he was suspected to be the legendary Origin Energy powerhouse, and there had never been an Origin Energy powerhouse in China for hundreds of years. In front of such a powerhouse, they were all juniors, so it was normal for juniors to bow to their seniors. However, at that moment, a voice that was filled with shock and disbelief came. Yi, why you're not dead? It was Yulian who spoke. At that moment, disbelief was written all over her face. After Shun Tianan tossed her into the sinkhole, she was less than 100 meters away from it. Therefore, she was the closest to the young man on the fire dragon. Although Yi Chan had changed his clothes, she recognized him eventually. But in the end, she still recognized him. As her voice was heard, everyone was stunned. Everyone present was instantly stunned. And after a moment, the expressions on their faces were completely replaced by astonishment and disbelief. Brother Yi? Sir Yi? He's Mad Southern Yi? How is that possible? He's not dead. Mad Southern Yi? Shin Tiannan's body shook as if he had been struck by lightning. How is that possible? Lei Feihu could not help but shriek in shock. Didn't they say that Mad Southern Yi died in the lava? How is it possible that he's not dead? Furthermore, he was even worshipped by them as the legendary Origin Energy Realm martial artist. Especially Shun Tiannan, his face was twitching. He was going crazy. Impossible. How could he be Mad Southern Yi? Facing the people's shock, the young man in the air turned around slightly. He had his eyes on Yulian, who was flying toward him. He smiled lightly, and his voice came into her ears slowly. I'm sorry to scare you guys. As soon as he was done speaking, he waved at Yulian. He waved his hand at Yulian, and Yulian realized that she had landed on the fire dragon's head in the blink of an eye. What shocked her the most was that the fire dragon's flames seemed to have received some kind of order and dispersed. Looking at the face that she thought was ugly at such a close distance, Yulian's heart was in a mess. She stammered, Why you? Don't worry. Nobody can hurt you guys with me here. Yichen chuckled softly. The fire dragon beneath his feet dispersed one after another after a furious roar. Meanwhile, he landed on the ground slowly while carrying Yulian. Just like that, everyone could finally see his facial features clearly. It's really Big Brother Yi. Big Brother Yi, it's great that you're all right. Gigi clenched her fists, her face flushed red from excitement. Yulei looked at Yi Chen blankly, as if he was dreaming. He stammered, Sir Yi, Mad Southern Yi, as soon as he landed. Yu Yin ran behind Yulei immediately. She then looked at the skinny silhouette far away with an odd feeling in her heart. That incomparably ordinary face seemed to occupy her heart at this moment. It was irreplaceable. That frail back was as vast and steady as a mountain. At this moment, she finally understood why the captain asked her and Yu Lien to listen to Yi Chen's orders since the beginning. She also understood why the captain had no emotional changes after knowing that Yi Chen was buried in the lava. I didn't expect that there would be a day when this old man would be blind. Yuan Chitai's lower lip quivered as bitterness filled his face. Meanwhile, Deng Chan, who was next to him, bit her lip hard. Her pretty face was blank. Before this, they thought Yi Chen was just an ordinary person. They did not bother to pay attention to such a person. However, not only was he the #1 in China's ancient martial arts world, Mad Southern Yi, but he did not die even though he was buried in the lava. Just when the people were having mixed feelings, an extremely venomous and crazy voice echoed through heaven and earth. Mad Southern Yi, you kill my son, Xingya. You must pay with your life today. Shin Tiannan's hair was dancing in the wind while his eyes were bloodshot. His eyes were filled with extreme killing intent when he looked at Yi Chen like a demon that had gone mad. Mad Southern Yi, you kill my son, Lei Can. As the saying goes, revenge for my son's death is irreconcilable. Even if you're an Origin Energy powerhouse, I'll tear you into pieces. Lei Feihu took a step forward as the aura on his body exploded. The intense pressure and killing intent almost covered the entire place. The people's scalps tingled while their hearts were pounding. Even the celestial master of Dragon Tiger Mountain, Zhang Xianqing, was no exception. Such powerful killing intent. Was this Shun Tianan and Lei Feihu's true ability? Yichen stood with his arms behind his back facing the duo. He looked at them extremely coldly as a smirk appeared at the corner of his lips. You two old dogs, I've been waiting for you guys for a long time. Chapter 436. You two old dogs, I've been waiting for you guys for a long time. As soon as Yi-chan was done speaking, everyone present could not help but be stunned. Everyone present could not help but be stunned, and an extremely strange feeling surged in their hearts. You two old dogs. One must know that he was facing Shun Tianan and Lei Feihu, the two powerhouses that were hard to come by in China in 100 years. They were known as the pillars of the ancient martial arts world and the spell world respectively. Even Zhang Xianxing from Dragon Tiger Mountain had to treat them with respect. However, Yi Chen had called them old dogs. You're so arrogant. Shun Tianan's long hair danced in the wind as he said, while smiling in rage, I don't care if you're an origin energy powerhouse or not. Shenangjia will be your burial ground today. Don't worry, I won't let anyone who's related to you go. Yu Lei, Yu Lian, and the rest could not help but turn pale as soon as they heard that because Shun Tianan clearly included them. That's right, Lei Feihu said, while smiling in a creepy manner. I'm afraid you have no idea. I've sent all of my godson to Tianan. They'll send your family to reunite with you after you die. Are you the 13 gangsters? Zhang Xuanqing's expression changed. Rumor had it that Lei Feihu had 13 godson. They were known as the 13 gangsters. Lei Feihu had adopted them since they were young, and they were ranked from Lei 1 to Lei 13. Each of them had the cultivation base of a martial Dao master, and their ability could rank the top 3 on the heaven leaderboard. If all 13 of them were to fight, they could destroy a small country. Never had they thought that Lei Feihu would send all of them to fight Yi Chen's family. The Yi family aside, even the entire Tianan would be destroyed. That's right, Lei Feihu scoffed. He could not help but look at Yi Chen as he spoke, trying to see something from his face. He thought it would be best to anger Yi Chen so that he would expose himself. However, Yi Chen's expression remained the same. However, the golden flames in his eyes flickered intensely a few times. Very well. Since you guys want to die, I'll send you guys on your way today. I'll go to Hong Kong and kill your ancestors' graves after this. He was not worried about the safety of his parents, wife, and daughter. The reason being, Lin Tai and Yang Tian, his cultivation base was on par with a martial Dao master. Apart from that, he had the Patriarch of Hell and Iron Tower to protect Su Yuhan. But he was also angry. That was because dragons had reversed scales, and those who touched them would die. Seeing that a great battle was about to break out, Zhang Xianxing hurriedly said, Wait, the 3 of you, this penniless Taoist does not wish to interfere in the grudges between you 3, but this penniless Taoist has to be responsible for the safety of the people here. Once the 3 of you start fighting, it will definitely affect them. Why don't you change places? The Longmen Convention was organized by Mount Longhu. If everyone present died, Mount Longhu would not be able to escape the public's wrath. Shin Tianan frowned. I don't mind. They'll die no matter where they go. Yi Chen smiled lightly. All right, then please move to the Blackwater River. Zhang Xianxing secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Daijiu Lake. It was the most representative and most valuable lake in Shenangjia. Rumor had it that after Shenong tasted all kinds of herbs, he set up 9 cauldrons here to boil medicine. Later, the 9 cauldrons turned into 9 lakes, which was why it was named the Great Nine Lake. Meanwhile, mountains surrounded it like a natural barrier that surrounded the Great Nine Lake. There were 9 mountains that were rather eye-catching. From afar, they looked like 9 dragons fighting for nectar. On the Blackwater River, next to the Great Nine Lake, Yi Chen stood proudly on the river. Yi Chen stood on the river proudly. There were 2 silhouettes with terrifying auras standing 100 steps away from him. They were Shun Tianan and Lei Feihu. Both of them glared at Yi Chen, and their killing intent was growing. Meanwhile, up to 1,000 people on the hills around the Blackwater River, including Yu Lian, Yuan Qi Tai, and Zhang Xianxing, looked like they were petrified. Heaven and earth fell into silence. Gazes that were mixed with various emotions were cast towards the river. Everyone's heart was filled with anticipation and nervousness. The reason being 3 powerhouses who stood on the top of China were about to fight. One of them was a legend in Hong Kong's spell world. It would not be an exaggeration to call him a legend in China's spell world. The other was an ancient martial artist who had conquered the world 50 years ago. Both of them were big shots who could shake Hong Kong and China with just a stomp of their feet. Meanwhile, Mad Southern Yi, the number one in China, was about to fight the both of them. This had never happened in China in the past 100 years. Therefore, everyone's eyes were burning at that moment. They were secretly anticipating whether Mad Southern Yi would fight the two powerhouses on his own and continue his legend, or whether Shin Tiannan and Lei Feihu would kill him. No matter who won, it would change the situation in China. Yu Yin took a good look at Yi Chun, who was on the river. She turned her head and asked Yuan Chitai next to her, "Master Yuan, do you think Mad Southern Yi will win?" One could say that she had the most complicated emotions among them. On one hand, she could not accept the fact that Yi Chun was Mad Southern Yi. On the other hand, she was afraid that Yi Chun would lose because Shun Tianan had said that they would not be able to escape if Yi Chun died. What she said caught many people's attention immediately. Yuan Chitai hesitated and said, "It's hard to say. After all, this has never happened in China before. However, to me, I think Shin Tianan and Lei Feihu have a higher chance of winning." That's right. No matter how powerful Yi Chen's ability is, he'll be attacked from the front and back. It'll be difficult for him to fight them. Zhang Xian from Dragon Tiger Mountain nodded lightly and said with a grim expression, "Moreover, Shun Tianan is an expert in alchemy. He can recover his and Lei Feihu's cultivation base anytime. Mad Southern Yi won't be far from death as soon as his true energy is drained." Huh? Yu Yin's face turned pale. She could not help but glance at Yi Chun, who was on the river. Resentment rose within her. "We're really going to die because of you. Brother Yi is the most powerful." Gigi did not think that much. She shouted at the river in admiration, "Brother Yi, all the best. I believe in you." "The most powerful?" Master Xiegu, who was standing aside, scoffed. "Didn't you hear what Celestial Master Zhang said? Mad Southern Yi won't be able to escape death today." Gigi wanted to argue with him by instinct, but Yu Lian stopped her. "All right, even Celestial Master Zhang doesn't have high hopes for him. Gigi, let's just accept our fate." Above the Heishui River, Shintanan heard the conversation between Master Xiegu, Zhang Xian, and the rest. He said to Yi Chun with resentment written all over his face, "Mad Southern Yi, did you hear that? Nobody has high hopes for you. Even your own people don't believe in you. To me, the both of you are dead." Yi Chun shook his head extremely coldly. The golden flames in his eyes were getting more intense as he mumbled, "I've refined the golden pupil flame. I might as well sacrifice you guys to my divinity today." At that moment, a noise came from far away. The people looked toward the direction of the noise and could not help but exclaim, "What's that?" There was an African elephant walking slowly downstream of the Heishui River. The elephant was standing on the river, showing no signs of falling at all. Meanwhile, an old man with blue hair and blue eyes was sitting on its back. The old man wore a long golden robe, and there was a necklace made of skulls hanging on his neck. A man and an elephant walked slowly over the river. As the elephant moved forward, wisps of white mist slowly rose under its feet. Looking again, as soon as the elephant's feet landed on the river, a thick layer of ice formed on the river surface. Seeing this, everyone's faces were filled with shock. That was an African elephant. An adult African elephant weighed more than 5 tons, but it carried a person without falling. Who was this person? How could he be so terrifying? The elephant stopped when it was less than 20 meters away from Yi Chun, Shun Tianan, and the other two. When they looked again, the 10-mile river behind it had turned into a frozen river. As the elephant neighed, the golden-robed old man on it suddenly opened his eyes. Lightning flashed in his eyes. "Mad Southern Yi, you kill my disciple, Marva. I, Basha, am here for you today." As soon as he said that, Mount Longhu's Zhang Xuanqing's expression changed abruptly. He sucked in a breath of cold air and said, "What? It's Basha. That old monster didn't die." Chapter 437. In an ordinary tea house in Beijing, 2 people were sitting by the window on the 3rd floor at the moment. They were an old man and a young man in black. There was a chessboard before them, and the game was in the shape of a dragon and a tiger. If someone who was good at Go was there, they would realize that the young man with the black chess piece had the upper hand. Senior brother, your celestial dragon chess technique seems weak in front of my black tiger chess technique. The young man in black revealed a victorious expression at the corner of his lips. He placed a black chess piece and severed the dragon's tail that was condensed by the white chess piece. The old man placed a chess piece as well and intercepted the tiger's claw that was condensed by the black chess piece. Subsequently, he said calmly, "I've trapped your tiger's claw too. Without it, what's the difference between a tiger and a sick cat? Junior brother, if this goes on, both of us will be injured. Why don't we call a draw?" A draw? The young man smirked in disdain. In my world, there's only winning and losing. There's no such thing as a draw. Senior brother, you're really old. You're blind from old age. You didn't see the chess piece that I buried earlier. At the end of his sentence, he placed another chess piece on the dragon's body. The dragon's tail was severed, and it was nailed to the spot where it was supposed to be. The winner had been decided. The old man's expression changed slightly. Just when he was about to speak, hurried footsteps came from downstairs. Subsequently, a valiant lady walked quickly to his side and whispered into his ear. After she left, the old man took a good look at the young man in black. His hand that was holding the chess piece trembled slightly. Junior brother, I've underestimated your bottom line. I can't believe that you've let that old monster, Basha, come to China just to deal with mad Southern Yi. I think you've really gone mad. The table in front of him shattered into two as he spoke. He stood up abruptly as if he wanted to leave. Senior brother, your opponent is me. The moment he turned around, the young man in black slammed his palm out. At the same time, in Shenangjia, everyone stared blankly at the elephant and the man on the Black River. They felt their breathing quicken as they were shocked by the man's divinity. Meanwhile, Zhang Xianxing from Dragon Tiger Mountain stared deadly at the old man in the golden robe on the elephant. He was shocked. Basha, he was a cultivator from Russia and was known as the king of Yakutsk. Yakutsk was an ice city located on the banks of the Lena River in Russia. It was built on permafrost and very close to the Arctic Ocean. The city had a population of 300,000, and Basha was the uncrowned king of Yakutsk. This was because in World War II, he had withstood a hail of bullets and even the destructive attacks of tanks and bombers. He had single-handedly annihilated a regular division of the enemy with more than 10,000 soldiers. He was known as the European meat grinder. The East had ancient warriors and mystic masters, while the West had awakened ones. The specific realms were the shackled realm, the mortal evolution realm, and above them was the god realm, which was equivalent to the origin energy realm and martial venerable realm in the East. At that time, even the enemy's intercontinental missiles could not kill him, and Basha was known as the strongest person below the god state in Russia. This showed how terrifying such a person was. He did not expect mad Southern Yi to offend such a person. Ha ha ha! Just when the people were stunned, a hysterical laugh shook the entire river. Shin Tian-nin looked at Yi Chun with endless mockery in his eyes. Mad Southern Yi, oh mad Southern Yi, I can't believe you've even lured Basha here. This is just too shocking. It seems like you're destined to die today. Lei Feihu clasped his fists at Basha, who was on the giant elephant. He said with a fearful expression, Sir Basha, since the three of us have the same goal, why don't we work together to kill mad Southern Yi? Both of them had heard of Basha's legend. As soon as he said that, Zhang Xianxing of Dragon Tiger Mountain said immediately, Thunder King, you can't do that. You're muddle-headed. Basha is not from China. As the saying goes, those who are not of our race must have different intentions. All of you should stop fighting with mad Southern Yi and work together against the enemy. His words immediately won the approval of many people. That's right. Those who aren't of our race definitely have different intentions. We Chinese can settle our own grudges behind closed doors. There's no need for those foreign monkeys to interfere. However, Lei Feihu scoffed facing the people's discussion. Righteousness of our race. That's bullsh**T. My son was killed. As long as I can kill mad Southern Yi, righteousness of our race aside, I'll even change my nationality. Sir Basha, what do you think? Shen Tianan asked. Basha, who was on the giant elephant, grinned. Sure, it's over. It's really over now. Yu Lian's body shuddered, and she could not help but cry in despair. She did not have high hopes that Yi Chun could defeat Shen Tianan and Lei Feihu. Now that there was another expert who wanted to kill Yi Chun, it was hopeless for him to fight two, let alone three. No, brother, you won't. Gigi cried on the spot. Yuan Chitai could not stop shaking his head. Master Xiegu was over the moon at that moment. Even those who had high hopes for Yi Chun had lost their hope. After all, they had experienced Basha's ability. The tip of the iceberg was already so terrifying, let alone when he attacked with his full strength. No matter what, Mad Southern Yi was dead. Looking at Basha, who appeared out of nowhere, Yi Chun stood proudly on the river with his arms behind his back. He said in disdain, "You're just a bunch of barbarians from overseas. How dare you do whatever you want in China? You three pieces of trash, come me together. Why should I, Mad Southern Yi, be afraid? I'm invincible in China. Kill!" Shen Tianan shrieked, causing the river beneath his feet to shake. A strong wind blew from the ground, causing the long robe on his body to flutter. At the same time, a glaring blue glow exploded from his body, causing heaven and earth to change color. He used his trump card as soon as he attacked. Although there were three people on his side, he was cautious. He dared not underestimate Yi Chun. It would be fine if he did not attack, but he would definitely attack as soon as he attacked. The next moment, two streams of black, ferocious energy that looked like dragons shot out of his sleeves. As he performed hand seals with both hands, the black, ferocious energy gathered on his fingertips directly. The entire process was done in one go, and it was as fast as lightning. As expected of Shen Tianan, it's no wonder that he's the #1 in Hong Kong's spell world with his ability to form a formation with a single thought and perform hand seals in the air. Zhang Xuanqing's expression was serious as he exclaimed. At Shen Tianan's level, he could perform all kinds of spells in the world with ease. He could form thousands of hand seals with a single thought. There was no need to accumulate power or perform a spell at all. That was the reason why top-notch spellmasters were no weaker than ancient martial artists. Rumble. Subsequently, everyone saw something that they would never forget for the rest of their lives. Within 20 meters with Shen Tianan as the center, there was a ferocious aura that covered the sky. The black river beneath his feet was shaking and boiling. It seemed like it could not fight the supreme aura. Meanwhile, Shen Tianan was in the middle of the ferocious aura. His white hair was dancing in the wind, and his clothes were fluttering. He looked like the messenger of destruction from the west had arrived. A terrifying power exploded from his right finger. 3 officials' killer finger. Kill everyone with 1 finger. Die, Mad Southern Yi. P.S. There are more chapters after the first chapter. I'm still writing them. I'd like to recommend a book from a friend. It's called The Devil King of the City by Happier Heyo. You can read it if you can't wait. Chapter 438. 3 officials' killer finger. Kill everyone with 1 finger. Die now, Mad Southern Yi. As soon as Shen Tianan was done speaking, an extremely dense black glow exploded from his hand. Subsequently, a gigantic, pitch-black finger shot into the sky. It was like a godfiend's finger, filled with endless killing intent and ferocity. An energy wave that made one's scalp go numb slowly spread from it. The river beneath Shen Tianan's feet, and even the space around him turned into nothingness, as if everything had turned into nothingness. Is that Shen Tianan's famous 3 officials' killer finger? Yuan Chitai, who was watching the battle, immediately sucked in a breath of cold air. Even though he was far away, he could still feel the monstrous killing intent coming from the huge pitch-black finger. It practically caused all the hairs on his body to stand on end. It was vile energy that was like poison. Ordinary people would turn into a pile of bones as soon as they came into contact with it. Since that was the case, the rest could not help but feel their scalps go numb. They looked at Shen Tianan in shock. Was that Shen Tianan's true ability? Only today did they truly understand how terrifying Shen Tiannan was. He was indeed a legend in Hong Kong's spell world. That's terrifying. Yu Yin and Gigi's faces turned pale as fear filled their faces. In the next second, the gigantic, pitch-black finger that looked like the finger of a god or demon tore through the river and space as it charged toward Yichun. If one were to look closely, they would notice that the gigantic black finger was filled with vein patterns. It was like a cage that sealed off Yichun's escape. Yichun's expression remained unchanged facing the attack. He chuckled softly and subsequently opened his mouth to suck hard at the gigantic black finger that was charging at him. World Engulfing Whale. It was an additional technique that Yi Chun had obtained after breaking through to foundation building. He could absorb any energy between heaven and earth, including vile energy and vile energy. Those things were extremely poisonous to ordinary people, but they were nourishment to Yi Chun. His stomach bulged slightly as if he had an electric motor installed in it. It was moving rhythmically as a powerful suction came out of his mouth. As everyone watched in a daze, the giant black finger began to disintegrate when it was about to reach Yi Chun. It was as if it was attacked by a strong wind. In the blink of an eye, it turned into a black airflow and was sucked into Yi Chun's mouth. At this moment, the heavens and the earth were deathly silent. Countless people were shocked to the point their eyeballs almost popped out. What? Shen Tiannan took a step back in shock. He looked like he had just seen a ghost. Lei Feihu and Basha from Russia rubbed their eyes. They could not believe what they had just seen. That was Shen Tiannan's 3 officials' killer finger. It was made by extracting the vile energy between heaven and earth. Even Zhang Xianqing, Lei Feihu, and the rest dared not take it head-on. However, Yi Chun had swallowed it in one gulp. Yu Yin was stunned. She could not believe it. Burp! Yi Chun burped and said to Shen Tiannan after refining it in his body quickly, "Do you have more? More? It's not satisfying enough." "Why you?" Shen Tiannan was shocked and furious. "That's it? Then, I'll give you something too." Yi Chun shook his head lightly and opened his mouth to spit. A black spear shot out of his mouth. The spear was approximately 3 to 5 meters long, and it was filled with a terrifying vile energy. As it flew out, it brought a black waterfall and a sonic boom in the air. Eventually, it charged at Shen Tiannan. Oh no! Shen Tiannan's expression changed drastically. He stretched his arm out and tore the necklace on his chest. It was a necklace made of 81 black beads. He performed a hand seal as soon as he held the necklace in his hand and tossed it above his head. The necklace emitted a golden glow that covered his entire body. He looked like a bronze bell from far away. It was a magic tool that he had cultivated in the Jiakhang Temple according to the Buddhist mantra. Moreover, it was a protective magic tool that could block bullets, water, and fire. However, the black spear did not stop at all when it collided with the golden barrier before him in the next second. It pierced through his armpit directly. Shen Tiannan groaned and retreated countless steps back. When he finally managed to stop, he realized that his right arm, which was close to his armpit, was showing his white bones. The flesh on it was completely corroded. Gasp! Everyone who had been watching exclaimed at the same time. Shen Tiannan was at a disadvantage as soon as the fight began. It was completely out of everyone's expectations. Even Lei Feihu and Basha did not expect it. Cough, cough, cough. Shen Tiannan coughed intensely a few times. There was deep fear in his eyes when he looked at Yi Chun. Mad Southern Yi, you managed to devour my 3 officials' killer finger with your body alone. You deserve to be the #1 in China's ancient martial arts world based on that alone. Unfortunately, you're just an ancient martial artist. You don't understand how powerful a spell master is. That's right, Mad Southern Yi. You're only relying on brute force. You have no idea how powerful our spells are. If you're willing to kneel and destroy your cultivation base now, we might leave your body in one piece, Basha from Russia said compassionately while riding on an elephant. Who told you guys that I'm an ancient martial artist? However, Yi Chun smiled in disdain. Lei Feihu could not help but scoff. What? Don't tell me that not only are you an ancient martial artist, but you're also a spell master who cultivates both spells and martial arts? Master Shigu laughed out loud as soon as he said that. Mad Southern Yi, stop pretending. Rumor has it that you're the Master Yi who can control lightning. It's just a rumor. Do you really think you know spells and abilities? If you're a spell master, I'll chop my head off and give it to you. The rest nodded one after another. Yu Lian hesitated and said to Yi Chun while looking at him, Sir Yi, I know that you're very powerful, but you're facing 3 people now. 2 of them know spells. Why don't you destroy your cultivation base and apologize to Master Shun and the rest? You might be able to keep your life that way. Although Yi Chun had the upper hand, Yu Lian still did not believe him. To her, Lei Feihu and Basha had yet to fight. Yu Lian, Yulei looked at her in slight disbelief and scolded. Yu Lian looked at her with a strange expression on her face. Never had the duo thought that Yu Lian would persuade Sir Yi to destroy his cultivation base to survive. They were not kids anymore. If he destroyed his cultivation base, would he not be a fish on the chopping board that anyone could do whatever they wanted? Brother, I want to say it. Yu Lian ignored his stare and proceeded to speak. Sir Yi, we have nothing to do with you. You should take responsibility for the trouble that you caused yourself. Don't drag us into it. Did you hear that, Mad Southern Yi? Shintan Nin said while grinning hideously. Destroy your cultivation base now and kneel down to repent. You're talking nonsense, even though you've lost to me. Yichen remained unmoved. He said proudly, That's great. I'll show you guys what real spells and abilities look like today. P.S. I'm writing one more chapter. Chapter 439. Are you going to show us your spells? Master Shigu looked like he had just heard the funniest joke in the world. Mad Southern Yi, I'll say this again. If you really know spells, I'll cut my head off and give it to you without a second thought. Yu Lian secretly shook her head. You're still acting tough at a time like this. Is it that hard to admit defeat? Yichen glanced expressionlessly at Master Shigu, who was smiling the most exaggeratedly. Sure, I'll take your head. I'll leave it on your neck for now. Yichen slapped the sky with one hand as soon as he was done speaking. He slapped the sky with one hand and shouted, Wind rise. Master Shigu's heart sank when he saw how confident he was. He had a bad feeling about this. Could this brat really be a spell master? The rest could not help but look around. They dared not even breathe loudly. Even Shun Tianan and the other 2 were the same. However, 10 seconds passed. It was still the same. The river was as calm as a mirror. The people could not help but look at each other. Ha ha! A series of hysterical laughter broke the silence. Master Shigu was laughing so hard that he was shaking. What a great wind rising! What a great wind rising! Mad Southern Yi, you really look like a rookie playing basketball when you're acting so serious. Puffed. Even Yu Lian could not help but laugh out loud. She looked at Yi Chun while laughing and could not help but shake her head. Yu Lei and Gigi looked awkward. Since you're so stubborn, it's time to end this. Shintanin shook his head and said to Lei Feihu and Basha, who were standing aside, Guys, let's do it. Let's end this as soon as possible. Lei Feihu and Basha nodded lightly. Just when they were going to attack, they heard someone exclaim, Look, what's that? The people looked at where he was pointing. They saw a black silhouette coming from the mountains around the Great Joe Lake. From far away, it looked like dark clouds were gathering. Meanwhile, a giant wave that was over 30 meters tall was stirred at the downstream of the Heishui River. The giant wave rumbled like a tsunami. Oh no, it's a hurricane. Zhang Xianqing of Mount Longhu squinted his eyes. Lightning flashed in his pupils as he sucked in a breath of cold air. As soon as he finished speaking, all of a sudden, a strong gust of wind blew in from all directions. Wherever the gust of wind passed, the weeds on the ground would be toppled. Countless trees would fall to the ground, and huge waves would appear on the surface of the Blackwater River. Everyone's expression changed. They felt that their bodies were about to lose their balance in this gust of wind. They could not help but reach out to grab the obstacles beside them. Ah! Yu Yin screamed. The clothes in front of her chest burst open, and she was rolled up. Yuan Chitai grabbed her immediately. Meanwhile, countless waves gathered at Yichun on the Heishui River. It was like a whale spitting water. Shin Tianan and the other two felt their scalps tingle as they leaped into the air immediately. At this moment, the entire Great Nine Lake was surrounded by a hurricane. It was like a huge fan blowing crazily towards the ground. He really knows sorcery. Immortal means, it's the real immortal means. Mother Faster's Kerr, is he still human? At that moment, countless people blankly stared at Yi Chun, who was in the middle of the hurricane. It was as if they had seen a ghost, and they were shaking in fear. This. Shin Tianan's face was filled with shock. Lei Feihu was dumbstruck, while Bosch's expression froze. Master Shiegu rubbed his eyes in disbelief. He had mocked Yi Chun for not knowing sorcery earlier, but Yi Chun really summoned wind in the blink of an eye. Moreover, it was a hurricane. Is that enough? If not, I have more. Yi Chun shouted again, lightning come. Rumble. A loud thud came in the air. A giant lightning arc streaked over everyone's head. It charged at Shun Tianan, Lei Feihu, and Basha with 3 white gleams. Oh no! The trio's pupils shrunk. Shin Tianan took out a black umbrella and opened it to cover him. He shouted furiously, Brother Lei, get in now. Lei Feihu flew in immediately. He wished he had an extra pair of legs. Basha from Russia roared and jumped into the river without saying a word. His movements were like that of a professional diver. Rumble. 3 bolts of lightning struck. Basha's elephant shrieked and was the first to be struck into ashes. Meanwhile, Shin Tianan's big black umbrella exploded intensely. The electric current that came out of it struck both of them to the ground. The next moment, there was a loud noise on the surface of the river, and countless waves were set off. Such a scene looked as if there were more than a dozen bombers dropping bombs into the river. After the lightning and hurricane faded, the entire river was in a mess. The entire river was in a mess. At that moment, heaven and earth fell into dead silence. Everyone's eyes widened as they stared dumbfoundedly at the scene in front of them. To be more precise, they were staring at the man in front of them. The power of nature between heaven and earth actually came and went at his whim. Yu Yan was so shocked that she could not speak. Bang! 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 The river was boiling all of a sudden. Subsequently, 3 clumsy silhouettes leaped out of the water. They were Shun Tianan and the other 2. They're still alive? Surprise flashed through Yi Chen's face, but he came to a realization soon after. Shin Tianan and the other 2 were top powerhouses in the world after all. Moreover, 2 of them were spell masters. It was normal for them to have some life-saving techniques, such as magic tools. Mad Southern Yi, a roar that was filled with endless rage, was heard. Shin Tianan looked at Yi Chun with messy hair. You forced me to do this. You forced me to do this. He took out a medicinal pill and popped it into his mouth. Meanwhile, Lei Feihu did the same. As soon as they swallowed the medicinal pill, their bodies aged rapidly. Their skin shriveled, and they looked like mummies within the blink of an eye. At the same time, an aura that was even more powerful than before exploded from their bodies. The aura filled heaven and earth without hiding it at all. Countless people could not help but kneel on the spot. They were secretly shocked. Longhu Mountain's Zhang Xianxing wanted to resist this pressure, but the joints in his body made cracking sounds. He fell to the ground and spat out a mouthful of blood. His face was filled with shock. This is the aura of an origin energy realm and a martial venerable. The people gasped as soon as they heard that. Origin energy and martial venerable. One was above illuminating God, while the other was above martial Tao master. However, how did the duo become so powerful all of a sudden? Mad Southern Yi, I didn't plan to use it. You forced me to do this. You forced me to do this. Shin Tianan soared, and his aura caused the river to sink directly. Eventually, endless seawater spread to the shore, drowning a large patch of grass. Ha ha ha! Lei Feihu spat blood out, but he could not stop the madness on his face. Mad Southern Yi, I have to say that you've really shocked us. We're so shocked that we're even afraid of you. Not only are you amazing in martial Tao, but you're also amazing in spell Tao. However, I bet you didn't expect us to have a backup plan too. Today, one of our combat strength is on par with an Origin Energy, while the other's combat strength is on par with a Martial Venerable. You won't be able to escape death. P.S. We'll continue tomorrow.